Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
Yeah.
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
And a good Thursday, everybody. The Sports Bash is live at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. It's holy mackerel. We got the Thursday already as we get ready for the Eagles and Buccaneers this weekend. The Phillies have clinched. They're going to the playoffs. They get a first-round bye, so all the panic that everybody had in the Delaware Valley is now put on ice for at least a couple of days. We'll ratchet it back up. You know, how about that? No Phillies baseball all next week.
They're still complaining, though.
No Phillies baseball, though, all next week.
That's what the people are complaining about. They're worried about the layoff, the rest. We saw what happened with Arizona last year and the Braves last year.
Yeah.
Too much rest. Is that a good thing?
Okay, well, we'll get into that. Sports Bash is live today at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. And, of course, you can stop on out tonight to watch Dallas and the Giants, a little NFC East. Josh Henning producing the show back in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. Pete G is my on-site producer. And you guys out there, we got now, that's the story, okay? All season long, you play to win the division, and then to get the first round bye and not have to play in the wild card round. And then the minute that you get the bye, the other side starts to complain that now you're sitting out for an entire week. So how do the Phillies handle this last week of the season? How do the Phillies handle these last three games? Do they go, all right, if you guys out there right now had a decision to make, are you playing your guys these last three games and just keeping them playing, or are you now giving them the rest? I keep hearing this thing about giving the guys the rest, and I keep thinking to myself, I got the whole week off. What am I giving anybody a rest for? So I can't quite get on board with everybody kind of sitting out a day. I know he said, maybe Harper sits or whatever. I think I'm trying to hit those guys and keep those guys. Now, I get the whole, nobody wants to get hurt here, but this isn't football. You got to get your at-bats. You got to keep yourself going. The concern is that you're not going to hit from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You are not going to get a live at-bat in a game. So, listen, I'm all for the bye. I'm all for getting that advantage. But I do see the fear of not having those continuous live at-bats. Now, you do have the opportunity to play some live inter-squad games, which, ironically enough, Jeff Hoffman, that's how he got discovered. Remember that story about Hoffman in spring training when Harper was coming back from the elbow injury and he pitched against Harper in some live, spring training games down there on the side
live simulated
field.
Batting practice reps for him.
Right, and Harper was like, who the hell is this guy? This guy's really good. And then here we go, Jeff Hoffman. So I don't know. I don't know that, there is a exact science on this. The science would tell us this, though. The Braves have not liked being in the position that the Phillies are in, and now the Phillies are in this position. That being said, the Phillies have won the division, and now they have a first-round bye. So, what do you guys out there have to say about that? 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. If you guys are watching the video on the X platform and on YouTube, my face is very white because of the lighting in Chickies and Pete's today. And this is the first time we've been back at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township since last football season. They've got a whole new room in here. This thing
looks
is unbelievable.
Really nice.
Right, this window is now cut out. It was not like this before. And this room over here that used to have the horse betting bays, it's a whole new bar with they're not high tops.
That's 12 beers on tap in this new bar.
There's a couple that you like on there.
Yes.
Wow, you're impressed.
I am there's one in particular that I might have to.
Wow.
6 o'clock comes, I might have to stay here an extra 15 minutes.
I will tell you, he texted me, so I'm on my way over here, and Pete G texted me, and he said they've got Bonesaw Swoosh that you can take out of here, which is one of my favorites, right? So, and I told him, Chickies and Pete's has really good beers. It's one of the things I love about both locations, the Atlantic City and the EHT, is they have really good beers on tap. So when I got here, they have this new room now. And this room, was the place where you did the horse betting. Look at where all the bays were in there. And now they have this window cut out, but then they have the outside. But inside that room, there's a whole nother bar now, and it has 12 tops, and they're not like high tops, they're like mid tops.
Yeah.
And I told him, so there's a couple beers on that tap over there, one of which apparently you're pretty excited about when this show is over.
That's right.
Yes.
6:01.
6:01 tonight?
That's right.
That's what you're having.
Yeah. Stay here an extra 15 minutes.
Well, come on out and have a cold one with us.
Yeah.
We're just kind of chilling on the side over here. They got the game on, Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. Now, I want to get into some more Phillies. I have a lot of Phillies thoughts that I want to get into. Eagles, obviously, the game tonight. But this thing with the Mets and Braves is unbelievable to me. How Major League Baseball has messed this thing up so it's an epic screw-up by them. Okay, this is an easy fix here. The NFL does it on a whim. Hey, we have a possible hurricane. What do? We move the game and play in Detroit. Something to that effect. You're telling me that Major League Baseball didn't have the foresight to see a hurricane was coming and the potential of the games not being able to be played in Atlanta? For them to say, all right, listen, Atlanta and New York, these games are highly important. I mean, these two teams, the winner of the series between the two teams, they have 2 games left, a doubleheader now. They're going to have to play, on Monday?
On Monday, and the
Yep,
playoffs
it's Monday.
start on Tuesday.
You can't do that. You can't make them play a doubleheader on Monday. If you are Major League Baseball, this is a total fail of epic proportions. You have to tell them, listen, New York, Atlanta, okay, yesterday. You found out yesterday that the game today and yesterday were both rained out. On yesterday's rainout, you have to tell them, listen, the 2 of you get on a plane, you're going to Milwaukee. All right? The Brewers are right now playing in Pittsburgh, so that stadium is available. Go play a doubleheader there on Thursday. The 2 of you, go play there now. New York, and I'm giving New York a little bit of an advantage, but giving somewhat of an advantage to Atlanta that they don't have to go to New York to play. Because you could have gone to play the game in New York against the Mets, for God's sakes. You didn't just say, hey, guys, we got to get this game in. What's more important, playing the game on Monday or Atlanta going to agree to play in New York and play the game up there? You're telling me Atlanta would rather play a doubleheader on Monday than have to go to New York and play? Hilariously, no. So, hey, we're going to do you a favor, Atlanta, not make you play in New York so Mets don't get a home game. We're going to send a game to Milwaukee. You 2 play there, a doubleheader on Thursday. Get those 2 games out of the way. New York, you're going to stay in Milwaukee because you play the Brewers on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the Braves, they go back home on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully they can get the games in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They play Kansas City. If you can't go to Atlanta and play, Kansas City is right on the way to Atlanta. You can make a stop in Kansas City, Missouri, and you can play the games there and finish the season on time. So the winner of that series doesn't have to play 2 games on Monday and then fly to San Diego and play there on Tuesday. Like, are you kidding me? I saw Jason Stark tweet this out.
And meanwhile, Arizona, by the way, they're just hanging out. They're still in the mix. They got to play San Diego for 3.
Well, Jason Stark.
San Diego clinched already.
Jason Stark tweeted this out last night that the Mets could play 3 games in 52 hours in 3 different time zones. Unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
So are the games, now someone just texted in that they're only going to play those games if they're necessary. Isn't there seating involved there? I mean, I guess if the Braves are out of it.
Right, because there's only 1 spot left. With San Diego in, there's only 1 spot left, correct?
I got to double check because I didn't see the late night scores last night. I didn't look at the standings yet today, so we'll look at them. Because the Phillies won. Now they're locked in to the bye. But, all right, let me ask you this question.
They still have a shot at the Dodgers, by the way.
Are you going for the Dodgers or are you resting guys?
I think...
Because it seems that the Phillies aren't all that interested in getting that number 1 overall seed. It feels like they got the bye and they're happy with that.
Today they're resting. They're off today, so good for them.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of rest time. I don't think...
It is. Can you stagger these guys? You don't have to give them all days off at once.
The Mets and Diamondbacks are tied, and Atlanta's 1 game back.
And the
so
Dodgers
I can't
are
imagine
a half game ahead of the Phillies.
I just don't see a scenario where that doubleheader is not going to be meaningful.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody sweeps and the other team gets swept.
I think if you're Philadelphia, I think you still got to go for that number 1 seed.
Is it that important to everybody out there that the Phillies get the number 1 seed? Now, there's all sorts of
It
crazy
will be.
stuff.
If you meet the Dodgers in the NLCS, that will be important.
Yeah, well, do you look at playing at Dodger Stadium as that vaunting of a task? I guess is the question.
Well, you always want to have 4 games at the bank.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to justify that being the 2 seed is better than the 1, but is it worth pitching guys? But we talked about this yesterday, though. Like, Frank doesn't think – we had Frank Close on last night for the mailbag at 5:30, and Frank doesn't think that the guys will pitch. Like Nola –
Wheels.
He doesn't think that Nola will pitch on Sunday. And I said, if he doesn't pitch on Sunday, that means the next time he pitches won't be till next Sunday.
Those guys don't like that either. Nola, for sure.
No way. I mean, so you would have to think you want to stay sharp by pitching at least 5 innings in the game. Like, just to get like some innings in.
Yeah, just for a quick note, we should know that the Dodgers do have the second best home record in the National League. So they are 51 and 29.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're a team that has historically struggled this year at home.
No, they're a good team.
But
so
who has the number 1 record at home?
The Phillies.
The Phillies do.
Exactly.
Well, let's be fair here. The Phillies had home field advantage in the playoffs last year, and how'd that go?
Well, they blew a 2-1 lead to
Arizona. They choked it away.
They lost in Game 6 and in Game 7.
Game 6 and 7.
So as much as I'm not going to sit here and argue the fact that being the home field is a better scenario, I just had home field a year ago, and that didn't do anything for me.
So then
now,
what's the
last
difference?
time I saw Philadelphia play a playoff series in L.A. against the Dodgers, they won that series in 2008. So going to L.A. and playing the Dodgers, listen, that team is really good. I get it, but you have to listen. Baseball's. I get the Phillies. They have this home field thing, and it's like it's rocking at the ballpark, all that stuff. I'm not minimizing that, but I just watched them lose Game 6 and 7. Baseball's. My girlfriend brought up a funny thing today.
So you'd rather rest these guys and not worry about that 1 seed?
No, I wouldn't. I would not rather rest the guys, and doesn't have to do with the 1 seed. It has to do with I got to get as many reps in baseball as I can.
So you try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Maybe get the 1 seed and play these guys?
Best case scenario, yeah, I get the 1 seed. But to me, more important is my guys keep playing. I can't have them sitting around twiddling their thumbs for 7-8 days.
I mean, Harper probably does need the rest. I would say there are some guys in that lineup that need the rest.
And that's the thing. If Harper says to Thompson, listen, me sitting for a day or 2 might be helpful. No, but that's the point is, does he want these last at-bats? To get like some more live at bats and then say, look, I got 5 days off here, coach. I'll use those 5 days to kind of recoup. That's the thing. If anybody's bumped or bruised or banged up, you got 5 days.
Yeah.
It's not like you're playing on Tuesday in the wild card round. So if you were playing on Tuesday in the wild card round and you clinched already, but you're only a wild card team, I can understand saying, you know what, hey, maybe you take a day or 2 off these last couple days before the season ends. But you're not playing again until Saturday. They won't play till Saturday, which means if they sit, let's say this weekend, Harper sits out 2 games. That means he's not going to play again. Let's say he plays Friday night and doesn't play Saturday or Sunday. He wouldn't play again for over a week.
I would imagine Sunday is going to be a bunch of just bench guys.
They're playing Washington, too.
Right. I wouldn't think that many of those starters are going to be in the lineup on Sunday.
It's definitely a tough scenario. It's definitely a unique thing that the Phillies have not gone through under this new format. They've always been the team that plays until literally the last day of the season, and then they jump right into the playoff mix, and you're getting live, at bats. You're getting live innings in high-pressure situations, and then you're going to play the division series. Well, then you've played the Braves the last 2 years who have been sitting around twiddling their thumbs, and they get caught on their home field, the Braves, where they just look like they haven't played in over a week. That's the difficult nature of this whole thing.
So then, if you're the Phillies, Mike, because we just mentioned, why did they lose last year? Because they choked at home. They had all the strikeouts the year before. They lost the World Series because of all the strikeouts. So couldn't you argue that sitting for all these days is going to not help them with their timing at the plate?
I don't think there's any argument that would say, sitting out for a week is conducive to hitters.
So you should play
no evidence of that ever. I don't think any hitter, if you asked him, hey, man, do you want to sit and not see live pitching for a week and then jump right in there and face Chris Sale? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they're going to play the Braves in the first game, but, whoever you might face in game one. No, that's not ideal in any stretch of the imagination, is having to go out there. Now, by the way, think about Zach Wheeler. He's scheduled to pitch on Saturday, right?
Correct.
He's scheduled to pitch on Saturday. His next scheduled start wouldn't be until next Saturday. And Wheeler has been one guy who's been pretty vocal about he didn't want to have the 6-man rotation. Remember that last year? He was not happy with having to be in the 6-man rotation. He didn't like the extra day's rest. 609-403-0973. Glenn in Northfield says, Mike, the Phillies got a bye despite Walker. Thank you for keeping me cool and level-headed. That's what I'm here for, Glenn. I'm here to keep everybody level-headed. I tell you, every team in baseball has not one, but 2 walkers generally. The Phillies are lucky that they only have 1 walker in their rotation. Most teams can't find a 4th or 5th guy. The Phillies just couldn't find a 5th guy. Sometimes we are so selfish. You have 4 all-star level starters for most of this season. And because they had 1 guy who was a trash can,
yep.
Most teams have 2 and maybe 3 guys who can't. And I'm like,
party
listen,
crasher.
Somebody has to pitch those innings. Like, you just have to understand it. I know it sucks. You don't want to punt games away. People are angry. They punted this many games and that many games. Every team has a pitcher who, is just not very good. And the Phillies only have one of them. It's Walker.
It was sad watching. I mean, Walker couldn't even get into the celebration after they won the division for the first time in 13 years. You could just see it, the look on his face. It was just a down and beaten man because he knew that,
So you felt bad for him?
I kind of did in that moment, yeah. Not in August when he was trotted out there every 5th day. Not doing much. But.
No, I mean, listen, I get the frustration. I'm not going to sit here and say, but I talked about this a month ago. This was not Rob Thompson's fault. This was Dave Dombrowski's fault. Dave Dombrowski signed him, and then he chose not to DFA him or send him to the minors or do anything with him. He left him on the roster. And that, leaving him on the roster, the message was clear. You have to use him. You can't just not pitch a guy making $18 million unless I cut him. So if I'm Dave Dombrowski and you're Rob Thompson, I go to you and say, Rob, I'm going to DFA so you don't have to worry about him. But if I don't do that, then what do you have to do?
I got to rearrange my entire...
You got to pitch him.
Yeah.
You got to rearrange everything. No, you don't. You have to keep pitching him until I get rid of him. And I felt bad for Thompson to some extent. He had to go out there and keep taking, everybody. This guy's an idiot. He keeps ruining games on purpose. No. He had nobody else. He didn't have an offer. And I got people texting in all summer long. Pitch Tyler Phillips. Pitch Kobe Allard. Those guys are not legitimate options.
They're not much better, yeah.
And they don't make $18 million. So that was that story. Guess what, everybody? You don't have to watch, you might have to watch Walker pitch again. You think Frank said there's a chance he pitches on Sunday in the last game of the year.
Right. He pitched on Tuesday, was it?
He came in relief Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Which was I felt bad for him in that moment, coming in with the bases loaded.
That was, I think, of all the times they've used Walker, like they started him, they brought him in, but that was the worst one. Like I felt like that one, Thompson put him in a terrible situation.
But again, he's a live arm, and you got to put him out there.
Well, and that's
he's on the roster.
That's the thing. Like the guy just texted in, "Hey, they made the playoff. They got the bye. Just like But there's a fine line of, hey, this game is a game that we kind of knew going in. We started Banks in this game just because you didn't want us to start Walker, so." We appeased the fans by not starting Walker, but the guy we started in his place also loaded the bases
promptly,
up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, listen, they're in the playoffs. You're never going to have to see Walker again. So all the complaining you did during the regular season was for naught.
It's the whole Tobias Harris thing, right?
It is. Very Tobias Harris feeling is like you pay this guy all this money because you pay him. He has to play. Like Tobias Harris probably shouldn't have been in the starting lineup. But
not when he scores 0 points.
Yeah, exactly. But because he made $35 million, Nick Nurse can't sit the guy. It's like, What am I supposed to do? The guy's getting paid $35 million. Yeah. My boss isn't going to let me sit him.
Mike, I got 2 different texts with 2 different very points of view. I want to give them both to you, okay?
I'll be the judge if they're great points of view or not.
No, I said different points of view.
Oh, I thought you said both have very good points of view.
No, I said different because
Gotcha.
they take
All
two
right,
different approaches this weekend. Steven Ventnor says, yes, it's worth it for the Phillies to play this weekend. Nola needs to take his turn and at least go 5. They will have plenty of rest with the bye week. Phillies have the biggest home field advantage in baseball. It's from Steven Ventnor.
Steve, we all know they have the biggest home field advantage in baseball. I mean, that's obvious, but we also watched them have home field advantage last year in the playoffs and lost. So, I mean, seriously, like, you don't have to convince me that they have the best home field advantage in baseball. I watch it, but I also saw them lose Game 6 and 7 against an inferior team last year. So what does that really mean?
Phil chimes in and says, Mike, the Phillies are banged up and they can use the rest. Plus they want to be in the best of 3 if they can avoid having to potentially use your top 3 starters. I personally put stock in the Braves and Dodgers failures the last couple of years. That's from Phil.
I would say this, Phil. I don't put a lot of stock in the Dodgers' failures because their pitching is just not good enough. You know, I got into an argument, Pete G's in that text group, with my buddy, and I said I would have rather faced Arizona in the playoffs last year. And he said, you're nuts. And I said, dude, the Dodgers pitching, actually I said I'd rather face the Dodgers than Arizona.
Right.
I would rather have faced the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series last year than Arizona.
Right.
And he said I was a crazy person for that. And I said, dude, the Dodgers pitching was horrible. Like, that's why they couldn't beat the Diamondbacks. They couldn't get anybody out. So I would take my chances against their pitching, knowing that they have a better offense.
Even so with Ohtani now.
I'm talking about last year.
I know, but what about this year?
This year's a different story, though. They had but no. To answer Phil's question, Phil's point was he doesn't put a lot of stock in what they did, and I would say last year the Dodgers' problem was their pitching was just not good enough. So I don't know what to make of why. You know, did their offense let them down? Probably. I'm sure their offense wasn't. But, like, they played Arizona last year, and Arizona got hot at the right time. But one of the problems was the Dodgers had no pitching. You know, everybody was hurt for them. They had nothing. That's why they went out and got Yamamoto this year. Correct. And then they went out and got Glasnow.
And they traded for Flaherty at the deadline.
They did that as well. So they knew that they had the pitching problem last year, and now their pitching is much better. As for the Braves, I do think you have to put a little bit of stock, Phil, in that their offense really was not – they had the best offense in baseball pretty much all season long for 2 years in a row, and they were not great in the playoffs. And I wonder if a little bit of that was those first 2 games where the Phillies kind of jumped on them early in Atlanta. The Phillies won down in Atlanta both times in Game 1. And I think those Braves offense, that is kind of, you know, what they were built on the last 2 years. And look, their offense this year, obviously no Acuna, they lost Riley, they lost
Lopez, right?
And Albies too.
Albies.
And Austin Riley's done for the year.
Right, Riley's now officially done for the year. Like, listen, Phil, I'll tell you this. We're about to find out whether this is the better method for the Phillies. Because one thing I will say about why, if you're a Phillies fan, you should like the bye better is it's hard to stay consistent in the wild card, the division series, the championship series, and the World Series. You have to be consistent for 4 straight series against 4 different opponents to win a World Series. Now, that's 1 less series that you have to be a consistent offense, and that's 1 less series that you have to fill innings with your bullpen. That's the one advantage there, but the timing issue. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. We're here, of course, every Thursday at Chickies. This is our first stop at the EHT one this year. We've got the bar is open, the food's ready to rock and roll, and we got little Brewers and Pirates here tonight, or right now. We got Cowboys and Giants tonight. I got some numbers on that game. Jeff Nadeau at 5:30 tonight with his favorite plays of the weekend. Looking forward to that.
I do like that spot with Nadeau.
5:30 tonight. But when we come back, my conversation with Mike Greenberg.
Oh, Greeny.
We're going to have that for you coming up next here on the Sports Bash. He's got a new book out. He's going to tell you about that and his thoughts on Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. You'll hear that with Mike Greenberg. My conversation with Greeny is next here on the Sports Bash.
You're listening to
Shop Macy's VIP sale going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off the latest fall trends from designers that rarely go on sale. And save 15% off skincare, makeup, fragrances, and more. Plus, shop fall specials for even more great deals on top brands at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
With Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
I'm that guy, and he's that guy. Weekday mornings 10 to 12. Greeny, Get Up, NFL Countdown, the NFL Draft, and now, for a second time, got this text message when I got to work today, Josh. It says, looking forward to the Greeny interview. I'm excited for his new book. On the way to me right now. Got Your Number was such a great book. My grandfather and I like to pick a random number and learn something new each time. It's great being able to hear stories about some of the athletes. Please send Greeny a thanks from me, a fan, David in Vineland. Well, David in Vineland, I'm telling Greeny now that you appreciate that book and his new book, Got Your Answers. The 100 Greatest Sports Arguments are settled. It came out yesterday. It's on Amazon. And, man, Greeny, sports arguments in Philly. You could write a book about sports arguments in the city of Philadelphia and make a mint. How are you?
We probably could. I'm good. David in Vineland, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it, and it is nice to be on with you again. And we are thrilled to be back with this book. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know the 100 Greatest Sports Arguments settled. One argument here that has gone on for days is Nick Sirianni going for it on fourth down, not 1 week, but 2 weeks in a row. Where should NFL Eagles fans sit on that argument?
He's ice cold, right? I mean, there's no other way to put it. Sometimes coaches get hot, and in this case, he is the opposite of hot. He is as ice cold as a coach could possibly be on those decisions. That said, here was my take on this earlier this week on TV. Nick Sirianni does not do himself any favors when he talks to the media because he's not good at it. He's not a very good communicator, or at least not in that way. As I sometimes say, he doesn't say words very well. However, I think this past week was a monster win and performance and almost vote of confidence for Nick Sirianni. Whatever the in-game stuff was or wasn't, and I thought he got the end of the Atlanta game completely wrong and obviously the end of the first half of this game wrong and whatever else. This was a team that I think, at least from the national perspective, after the way they just completely came unraveled last year, I think after the way they lost that game to Atlanta, there were a lot of people, myself included, watching to see if they would come together and rise up and play tough. And that was a bad matchup for their defense, or at least it looked like it would be. They were getting no pressure on the quarterback, and Derek Carr leading into that game had been the least pressured quarterback in the league. And that team didn't allow a touchdown until the fourth quarter. The defense played great. I thought that was a real – let's put it this way. If they'd gotten obliterated in that game, we would have said this team has quit on Sirianni. So for them to fight the way they very obviously fought and to find a way at the end the way they did, I think it would be unfair not to say the opposite, not to say that at least for this day it seemed like they came together and rallied around their embattled coach. So it doesn't mean that he's not going to remain embattled, but I think generally speaking, I think the division sets up very well for them. I think Dallas stinks. I don't think Washington is that good, and I don't think the Giants are that good. So I think that the Eagles have a little bit of a cushion to work with, and I think that all things considered, we'd have to say last week was a very good week for Coach Sirianni.
So Get Up, NFL Countdown, Greeny on the radio, and obviously many other things you have had in your time. Where do you think, you got coaches, former players. We've had former players, we asked them, they love when the coach is aggressive. Then you got former coaches. You can't do that. Is this just one of those things that there is no right answer in today's game? Because it's so interesting, Greeny, that Atlanta won the game against Philadelphia in part because Philly couldn't convert on fourth down. What did Atlanta do the very next week? They tried to go for it on fourth down. They left 6 points on the board. They lost by 5. Is the game changing, and do the players like the fact that these coaches allow them and put the trust in them?
I think so. Those are two separate questions. I think the offensive players always want to go for it. The answer to your question, is there a right or wrong way, is yes, at least to some degree. There are analytics that tell you, historically speaking, if your chances of success in this case are 58%, and your chances of success in this case are 51%. And logic suggests you should take the 58 every time. However, all of those come down to, if you played this scenario out 1,000 times, here's how often it would work one way, here's how often it works the other. And each individual game is sort of like its own individual lifetime. So a good coach, I think, has to have a feel for how the game is going, how the unit, whether it's his offense or defense or his quarterback or whatever the case is functioning. There are a lot of factors that I think skew the analytics. But when in doubt, and one of the reasons I think coaches are prone to use analytics is because if something goes wrong, they always have that to fall back on. They can always say the numbers. Hey, if you get second guessed, you make a decision that the analytics defend and it doesn't work, and if you get second guessed in the press conference, you can always say, "Excuse me, you idiot, but the numbers tell me that the way I did it gave me a 61% chance of winning, and the other way would have been 41%." And I think a lot of coaches do that for that reason, because I think a lot of coaches they coach with at least one eye on not getting fired. And so it isn't as simple as you just do what the analytics dictate. But there are, of course, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, there are analytics that do give you at least an indication of which way one should lean. And if you were to do it 1,000 times, you should do it that way. I always use the blackjack analogy. You know, if you have 18 and the dealer has 6, you can hit, and every once in a while you'll win. But that doesn't mean you did the right thing.
Right.
So, and this is probably a particularly good analogy in Atlantic City.
Right.
So that's what I would say. I think more often than not, coaches do and should fall back on the analytics, because more often than not, they're going to be right.
Well, and they're aided by the fact that Monday Night Football is also putting the analytics big green go on the screen on fourth downs. You know, hey, they're telling you to go for it now. That's helping some of these coaches out. Hasn't out Sirianni out, but the team is still 2-1. But Greeny, the league seems drunk. It seems like it's crazy. You got 3-0 teams that no one believes in. You got 0-3 teams that people want to believe in. You've got 1-2 teams that are in the mix. You got 2-1 teams that no one knows anything about. This is football in 2024.
Yeah, and God bless it. I mean, it is just endlessly fascinating. Look, to me, the overriding storyline, or the through line of all the things you just said, is that with the way the league is structured right now, there has never been a greater premium on elite coaching. And look what Matt LaFleur is doing in Green Bay with Malik Willis. Look at what Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are doing in Minnesota with that defense and with Sam Darnold. Look at what Clint Kubiak, this past week notwithstanding, has done to an offense that barely changed personnel in New Orleans. The value of great coaching. Look what the Steelers have done with Justin Fields. I think the thread of commonality amongst all the teams in the NFL is that look at the coaching, and far more often than not, sort of like analytics, then you're going to find out how good the team is. Of course, the players are the most important thing. No coach is going to win with bad players. But I think the difference between the most talented team in the league and the least talented team in the league is so narrow, more so than it's ever been before, that I think that there has never been a time in any sport where coaching was more valuable than it is in the NFL right this minute.
Greeny is, of course, 10 to noon right here on 97.3 ESPN. Get up, 8 o'clock in the morning on ESPN. And, of course, NFL Countdown. You can check them out Sunday mornings. The book has got your answers. The 100 Great Sports Arguments Settled. By the way, Colin LBI is a big Jets fan. He says, Greeny is on. Forget the Eagles talk. Let's go, Jets. We do have a couple Jets people at the top half of our signal up there in Long Beach Island area. But, Greeny, your favorite argument that you and Hembo had to settle?
Well, there are so many. So what the book is, basically, is we identified what we think are the top 100 sports debates, the top things that people love, sports fans on shows like this one love to debate. And then we used Hembo's extraordinary research to settle them once and for all. So you can open to any page, which I just did. I just opened to this page. Who were the top 10 number one overall picks in the common draft era? We took all the sports and put them together. So it is not the number one basketball or football or baseball or hockey, but all of the sports combined. Who is the best player ever to be selected number one overall in the draft in all four of those sports combined? We rank them 1 through 10. Who would you put at number one?
Gotta go LeBron, right?
LeBron is number one. As I write in the chapter, ultimately LeBron receives the edge for having surpassed Kareem as the all-time leading scorer. It has always been my contention that Abdul-Jabbar was the most accomplished basketball player that ever lived, but I can no longer defend that position. LeBron has earned his place atop the entire history of the sport. We have Kareem 2. We have Mario Lemieux 3.
Ooh.
We have Magic Johnson 4. Alex Ovechkin 5. A-Rod 6, and that was a tough one, because if it wasn't for the cheating, it would have been higher. Peyton Manning 7, Ken Griffey Jr. 8, John Elway 9, and Guy Lafleur 10. So that's not my favorite. That's literally just the one I opened it to. And there are the arguments debate from everything from what are the top 10 best pitches in baseball history. I'm literally just opening to a page. What are the top 10 signature moves in basketball history? Who are the top 10 shooters in basketball history? And it just goes on. We have 100 of them. There are 100 sneaky Hembo questions to accompany each of them. And the other thing that I would mention about it is the book we did a year and a half ago, one of the things people told us was it was really expensive, which it was. We didn't have control over how much the publisher charged for it, but it was more than we wanted. So this time we insisted that the book be $15. So the book is $14.95. They're actually doing a special price on it right now on Amazon. So if you order it on Amazon right now, it is called Got Your Answers. You will get 10% off the already low price, which we asked for, of $14.95. So I couldn't be more thrilled with some of the reaction that I'm starting to see already. The book just came out yesterday. And if you have any thoughts on it, if you have any debate you want to engage in over some of the topics, please tweet at me using the hashtag Got Your Answers. Ask a question, make a declarative statement, and Hembo and I will be writing back to as many as we can.
Well, we appreciate it. Got Your Answers. Yes, I'm on the Amazon. It's $13.49 for the hardcover, $9.99 on the Kindle. People are asking on the text board, is there an audio version? Do you know that yet?
There is not yet. No, there probably will be, but there is not yet.
All right.
We
By the
did
way,
an audio version of Got Your Number from last year, which we read. We have not done an audio version for this one yet.
We do have we appreciate it. I know you got to run. We got a ton of people texting in, really enjoying the conversation. Go check out the book. Bring it to the beach. It's a great time to sit on the beach, September, October at the Jersey Shore. Mike Greenberg, weekday mornings at 10 right here on 97.3 ESPN. Wake up with him on Get Up. And Sunday, check him out on NFL Countdown, the NFL Draft, the new podcast with Mel is fantastic. Greeny, always appreciate it, man.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, that was my conversation with Mike Greenberg from ESPN. Of course, ESPN Radio's Greeny, Get Up, NFL Countdown, and his new book, of course. Check that out. The great arguments of sports. We can all debate them back and forth. We got plenty more to debate as the Sports Bash is live today at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. Chickies and Pete's, the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles are on 97.3 ESPN. This weekend, they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got more on that matchup. John McMullen at 3. Jeff Kerr is pinch hitting today for football at 4. He'll join us then. Then One Thought every game tonight at 5 with Casey Joyner from The Athletic. I'm Mike Gill, and this is the Sports Bash live from Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township.
Shop Macy's VIP sale, going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off the latest fall trends from designers that rarely go on sale. And save 15% off skincare, makeup, fragrances, and more. Plus, shop fall specials for even more great deals on top brands at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, 2:49 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. You got all the specials. You got the Thursday night game tonight. Dallas and Giants, highly interested in this game tonight. Giants could be, little spoiler, go 2-1. And actually, they would be, 2-2 if they won the game tonight. Dallas could be 1-3. Dallas has kind of owned this series, though, against the Giants. We'll get into that a little bit later on.
It's a gut check game, though. This is for Dallas. This is gut check time.
They're at the Giants tonight. It's at the Meadowlands. So You listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. You been watching any of the Dancing with the Stars? You know it's in its 33rd season? I've never seen one episode. And I'm not watching again this year. But there's a former Sixer. And by the way, a former Eagles wide receiver. Now, he was an Eagle for about 5 minutes. Never played a regular season game.
Not Frank Gore, is it?
No. He played a little longer than Frank Gore did. But there's a former Eagles receiver and a former Sixer who are two of the favorites to win on this season's. I don't even know what channel Dancing with the Stars is on.
It's on ABC. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I see the commercials all the time.
It's not on like just a streaming service or something like that?
No.
Well, everything gets streamed after it's live now on Hulu.
Okay. I didn't know if they just pushed it to the streaming service. It's in its 33rd season. A lot of times you're seeing these things come back, but they're only for instance, Kelsey Grammer, who's in South Jersey
all the time.
Yeah. He was down in North Wildwood at the Irish Festival last weekend.
Bartending.
Yeah. Well, he's got that beer. And
Faith Brewing Company.
Yes. And he's got the show, the Frasier, they brought it back, but it's only on a streaming service, right?
It's only on Peacock.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus.
Right. So it's not on actual television, it's only on Paramount Plus. So I didn't know if that was like Dancing with the Stars that was only on a streaming service.
Well, I think they still need the live element for the audience, the viewer participation and voting.
Well, I mean, I guess you get live element. They could air it live on the streaming service, right?
They could. I mean, and Netflix is doing that with the NFL this year.
So Dwight Howard is the former Sixer.
That's the former Sixer. Okay.
Yes, he is the former Sixer, and he's like one of the favorites to win this thing.
So I thought he was in China playing basketball.
He is.
He's still doing that.
Somewhere overseas, yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it's China or where he is, but he's definitely somewhere overseas playing basketball. And then I say former Eagle. He did play on the Eagles practice squad. And then he got signed for the practice squad. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
That's a little trickery you're doing here with the listeners.
Yeah. Danny Amendola.
Danny Amendola
is the other one who is one of the favorites to win this Dancing with the Stars.
Now, are those the only two sport?
I did not. The only person on that list I think I recognize, I'm going off the top of my head, was Tori Spelling.
Oh, Tori Spelling, Beverly Hills 90210.
I think she's the only other person on. Do you recognize any other name on that list?
Let me see. No.
Not one person, right?
No.
You would think that a smart move by Dancing with the Stars, maybe capitalize on the Hawk Tua girl or something.
You would think.
I think her 15 minutes of fame.
No way, dude.
You don't believe so?
Dude, she's made over. She's a millionaire.
She's got her own podcast
She's got
now.
the podcast now.
I saw that she flew in the airplane for the first time in her life.
Tua Talk.
Yeah.
You going to put that on your list?
No.
No. What kind of conversation, what topics is she covering?
I've seen some of the highlights. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah? I'm not, hey, she capitalized on that more than anybody else I think could have, right? You figure okay, that happened and you forget about it 3 days later. She's capitalized on that over again. She's killed it off of that thing. Hey, this hour, I want to tell you about some unbeatable leases. By the way, Greeny was awesome. That was great catching up with Greeny. I want to tell you about some unbeatable lease offers from my friend Rocco at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Right now through the end of the month, which, by the way, it is almost the end of the month. You know it's 90 days till Christmas? Think about that. I don't want to worry or anything, anybody. But you could drive home a new 2025 Integra for just $399 a month with $29.95 down. Need a little bit more room? Get an RDX all-wheel drive. It's yours for $393 a month with $49.95 down. But you got to do it before the weekend if you want those amazing prices at Key Acura of Atlantic City, Tilton Road in EHT. The small but friendly dealer. See dealer for details. Coming up, John McMullen, the latest. Who was at practice today? Who might be in and who might be out? Find out. Coming up next.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget, they got the Thursday night games, the Saturday slate, the Eagles this Sunday. You know, I'm not a big go out and about, watch the game. I can't really focus if I'm out watching the Eagles game, so I have to watch it at home.
I'm kind of like that, too.
But we were here last year for the Phillies playoff when they played the division game or maybe the wild card game. It was like a 5 o'clock game. We did the show here. Man, it was an awesome place to watch the live game. So make sure you try it out for a Sunday with the Phillies if you're one of those people that like to find a place to go. Chickies and Pete's EHT. They got the happy hour specials going. And the like. It's 3 o'clock, and it's brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing service, and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907 or broadleafs.net. We're going to get the latest on the Eagles, all the injuries. It doesn't look like Lane Johnson practiced today. I wouldn't anticipate he plays. Britton Covey out 6 weeks. We know that. He confirmed he has a broken shoulder blade there, so he said it's been pretty tough to practice. Who's going to take over that role? We'll find out with John McMullen. I do want to play, Josh, yesterday, I think it was later on in the show, we played some audio because you just heard, we had the interview with Mike Greenberg earlier, and everybody seems to be talking about Sirianni. He is everybody's favorite whipping boy right now. But Jason Kelsey was on the latest edition of the New Heights podcast, and he was asked about, like, all the aggressive decisions that Sirianni seems to be making and all of the things that everybody is basically ripping him for.
Right.
Jason Kelsey on the New Heights podcast was asked what he thinks of all the decisions that Nick Sirianni is making. Take a listen.
The reason the fourth down decisions are being criticized because they haven't been working. That's the end of the day. They did work in 2022, and they helped us get to a Super Bowl. And Nick Sirianni, like, he has seen firsthand how much going for it on fourth down can help and improve your chances at winning a game. Obviously, when it's not working, it does the opposite. And these are the unfortunate circumstances you live by as a head coach making these decisions. It's hard.
So there's Kelsey. He basically backed Sirianni and saying, look, that's why we made the Super Bowl. So my question off of that is this. Everybody's been very critical of Sirianni making these aggressive decisions. But in the end, are you more apt to hit your ceiling by being aggressive? Do you have a higher potential of being great by taking more risks? And I think the answer to that question every time is yes, right? You got to spend money to make money. If you want to hit big, you got to bet big. So the Eagles have been a team that is willing to spend money to make money, essentially. There's Jason Kelsey saying, look, we went to the Super Bowl in 2022 because of his decisions. So we as fans sit here and are critical on a week-by-week proposition. But we try to explain this in sports all the time. The coach and the organization and the way they run things, they look at the big picture. And they don't look at the moment in time in that game sometimes. They're saying, what's our identity as an organization? Who are we? Who do we want to be? And the Eagles are saying, we want to be an aggressive team, no matter what. And if it costs us today, it'll help us tomorrow. Is that fair or unfair way of a mindset for the Philadelphia Eagles? They're saying, look, we've had success doing this. That's what Jason Kelsey's saying. I mean, he's saying we've had success in being that team, in that we took risks. And part of the success we had in our recent past is based on the risks we took. And if we don't keep taking those risks, we can't hit our full potential.
Mike, I wanted to ask you, what do you say then to people who say, I'm okay with you taking risk as long as it's the right kind of risk? Like, for example, you said, scared money don't make money. Well, good money is made from good investments. So isn't making the right risk better than just any risk?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think you got to pick your spots. I don't think you can just wildly,
It can't be blind faith, close your eyes, and
you can't just wildly, just start doing things that are so, and that's where I think there's a fine line. But listening to Kelsey talk about that, it seems evident to me that the player, because I think what has been discussed, Greeny on our show, Fortenbaugh earlier today on 97.3 ESPN, what seemingly is being discussed is, are these decisions reckless? Are these decisions holding you back?
Like Brandon Staley a la L.A. Chargers.
Brandon Staley did a lot of asinine things, but I think they never had the success doing it that the Eagles have had. The Eagles have a history of it working for them.
The tush push really is their bread and butter. 4th and 1. I think everyone in the entire fan base is okay with them going for it.
So if in the future they failed a couple times and they failed, but failing those couple times, does that lead to success somewhere down the road? In other words, it's going to have to even out at some point, won't it? That, hey, we're a team that goes for it a lot on 4th down and we take some risks, but we didn't get them. But we're going to do it in week 11, and that's going to work out for us. And because we tried it in week 2 and in week 3 and didn't get it, well, because we did it and we tried it when it mattered down the road, is that helping us hit our ceiling? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something. Listening to Kelsey talk about that on that podcast, it was definitely interesting to hear his perspective of saying, look, we hit our ceiling based in large part because we were the aggressors. We talked about it with John McMullen yesterday. He joins us now fresh off the practice field at the NovaCare Complex as the Eagles get ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we got a lot of stuff to dive into as the Eagles and Bucs meet for the 3rd time in a year here. Twice last year. This will be the 3rd time. And it has not gone well for the Eagles in a lot of those games. They did win the game down there in Tampa in the regular season. And, of course, they were blown out in the playoff game. Here they are for the 3rd time in less than a year. And you can hear the game this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. John McMullen, brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Shop their lineup of new, pre-owned, and certified pre-owned Hondas online at boardwalkhonda.com. Johnny Mac, welcome back.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Always good, bud, and obviously off the practice field. Any notables on the field today? We got a lot of guys hurt yesterday, which you and I discussed. Was anybody back and trending towards playing, or most of the guys that were out trending towards being out on Sunday?
Well, no A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, so that's obviously a very bad sign for Sunday's game. You got one more practice and a walkthrough before they head to Tampa. Again, veteran players, they don't necessarily need full weeks of practice, but considering A.J.'s been out for 2 games, you would think they would need to ramp him up somewhat. So I'd be very surprised if A.J. Brown was playing. And the concussion protocol is interesting because, you know, it's hard to predict. And Lane has been out there stretching, so he's closer than Devontae Smith, who hasn't been out there. And he has the longer history of concussions, so I kind of expected it to be the other way, to be honest. But again, you know, there's levels to concussions. There's different ways they affect different people. So that's out of the Eagles' hands. That's independent neurologist ultimately has to clear those guys. But Lane Johnson is closer and is farther along in the protocol than Devontae Smith.
And if Lane Johnson doesn't play, it would be Fred Johnson there. Mekhi Becton, is he back and working, or is he still questionable?
No, well, Mekhi was back yesterday. It was only a walkthrough, but and he talked to us in the locker room, explained what happened to him, tore a ligament in his left ring finger, and really didn't have any stability. That's why he couldn't go back in the game. But he's going to play they had a cast on today. So obviously he'll have protection on the finger, but he's definitely going to play. And then Britton Covey, we saw Britton today. He's obviously out on injured reserve. confirmed it was a broken scapula, so he's going to be out in 6 weeks or so. Good news is he doesn't need surgery, so shouldn't be a season-ending injury, but he's going to miss extended time.
So let's look at him because, I mean, obviously Covey is the third receiver, kind of, and he's also the punt returner. Those two areas, who replaces him in the offense in the pass game, because that's big this week, and also who replaces him in returning punts, which is, I think it's an underrated part of what he does for this team.
Yeah, I mean, he was arguably the best punt returner in the NFL last season. Hasn't gotten many opportunities yet. They tend to come later in the season when the weather gets a little bit poorer, especially in some colder weather cities. But talking to him today, he's very upset about missing the Tampa game because he said their punter tends to outkick their coverage, and you have some opportunities to get some returns. So he's a little bit disappointed he couldn't be in this one, but Cooper DeJean is the first man up. And John Dotson is also taking punt return reps, and so is John Ross, who just returned on the practice squad. So those are the three guys taking punt return reps. It should be Cooper DeJean getting at least the first opportunity. And as long as he doesn't make a mistake or muff something, and he seems to be very sure-handed, he returned punts at a high level in college at Iowa. So I think they should be fine at punt return. As far as receiver, I mean, they're going to have to elevate two receivers off the practice squad if A.J. and Devontae can't. If they both can't play, and it's looking like it's heading in that direction, I mean, you have on the 53, you have Jahan Dotson and Johnny Wilson. Paris Campbell has been elevated the past couple games, but he's not on the 53. Now, they can make roster moves all the way up till Saturday, but in theory, he's going to be elevated for the third time, and then maybe you have to elevate John Ross as another receiver if you don't have both of those guys. They have 5 receivers on the practice squad. Most of them are, you have Kyle Phillips, you have Danny Gray, who just got here, and Jackson, one of the most interesting names. But those guys probably aren't ready to play in the game yet. They're more younger, developmental types. Phillips is very similar to Britton Covey in that he's an undersized, more shifty guy. But I would think more it's John Ross, who they just brought back, would be that extra guy at receiver.
Talk with John McMullen, Birds 365, weekday mornings, 8 a.m. on the Jacob Media YouTube channel, Sports Illustrated. Yeah, I know obviously Smith and Brown are just such big parts of the offense, but man, to have 2 practice squad guys possibly come out there, and then how do you configure them, right? Who's the slot guy? Who's those, the 2 main pass catchers in the offense? I mean, does Paris Campbell, Jahan Dotson essentially become your top 2 guys?
Yeah, pretty much. And, if you're looking for a silver lining, they both have experience playing inside and outside, so they can kind of mix and match, play X, play Z, play flex, all 3 wide receiver positions. But, you can line up anybody anywhere. Can they do it effectively? That's the key. I think people get caught up in labeling. Sometimes you may be playing 12 personnel, but the tight end might be playing fullback. It's just a labeling way that the NFL does it. But, it's really you're dependent on what you're being asked to do on a particular play. And the point is, is Jahan Dotson going to be effective as A.J. Brown? No. Is Paris Campbell going to be effective as Devontae Smith? No. And on down the list. So you're going to have to play a different way if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. You're going to have to play a lot more two tight ends with Grant Calcaterra and Jack Stoll being in the mix. And it's probably another Saquon Barkley game. So you're probably going to have to get 25 to 30 touches of Saquon Barkley. And then if the Eagles are lucky enough to get out of there with a win, they can go into the bye week, and they better really develop a plan to start putting Saquon Barkley on a pitch count, because he's touching the football too much, and it's not sustainable.
John McMullen, there you go. Barkley could be a big one. And he went out of his way yesterday when he was asked about Brown and Smith. He did throw Goddard as being a big part of the receiving core as well. But that's not something we've seen generally. So you wonder if they will put a package or really feature Dallas Goedert a lot more in the offense this week.
Well, yeah, and obviously, if you think about AJ's injury, it happened late in the week before the Atlanta game, and they didn't have a time to do a lot of different things when it came to shifting the game plan. When they knew they would be without AJ for New Orleans, you had the much more attention to Dallas Goedert. So I think that will continue in Tampa Bay. The problem is Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coordinator. He's well aware that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith might not play, and, he's going to be hyper-focused, if that's the case, on Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, they play a lot of zone, Tampa does, and it'll be interesting to see how that affects this passing game. You asked Sirianni yesterday about, a couple unique thoughts about Fangio coming out of the game, and does he think that this defense has turned around, or that they have a lot of building still to do?
I think they have a lot of building still to do, but, one of the things that impressed me most about Vic was, and I asked a bunch of guys this in the locker room, they rolled out that six-man front, and he first rolled that out way back in 2018 when he was with Chicago, and that was the defense that shut down the Sean McVay Rams. Not only in the regular season, the Rams had been averaging 30-plus points a game, went into Chicago. Vic rolled that out to stop the stretch running game that they were so effective with. And, a bunch of third and longs, and all of a sudden here comes the pass rush, and the Bears beat the Rams 15-6. After that game, the Rams went right back to being the Rams, and they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. And Bill Belichick gets a lot of credit for shutting them down, and he deserves it. But he was copying Vic's scheme.
Mm-hmm.
He went back to that game and copied exactly what Vic did, and they beat the Rams, I think it was 13-3. And he rolled out that defense against the Saints, who were running for 187 yards a game and pretty much completely shut down the running game. They were disciplined. They kept trying it with Kamara, but they only averaged 3.1 yards per carry. And it was really impressive. And I asked a bunch of guys, did he use that in training camp? Have you guys been prepping that? And they were like, to a man, they said, nope. He just rolls out, and he keeps growing on what he can do. And, Nick kind of talked about that experience. He knows what he has to do because he's been around so long. He's seen everything. Now, it helps that Jalen Carter played the game that he did. It's still talent first. And Jalen Carter was unblockable, and you'd love to see that consistently. If Jalen Carter plays like that every week, the Eagles are going to have a good defense.
Oh, well, yeah.
But, that's probably not going to happen to that level every week.
No, and a lot of it with the matchup, McCoy goes out, and of course, so you take advantage of that. We'll see if they can take advantage of a offensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll get more into that and the matchups tomorrow. John McMullen, weekday mornings, 8 a.m. on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Birds 365. It's Eagles and Bucks, and you can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Johnny Mac, we will do a little buy or sell and preview the game tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Mike.
There's John. He'll be back tomorrow with his thoughts on the game, the matchups to watch, and he's brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Shop their lineup of new, pre-owned, and certified pre-owned Hondas online at BoardwalkHonda.com. How many times do you hear, hey, you might have to pull up 2 wide receivers off the practice squad to get through a game? That is not ideal at all. I mean, who has 2 practice squad wide receivers that you feel pretty confident about? Not too many teams. Not too many teams at all. But they do have Saquon Barkley, and I thought the thing that he said in that game is, they're going to have to start worrying about putting him on a pitch count. They'll get some numbers on that coming up.
That's nice, but, we need him.
Right now, you need him big time. Coming up, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We're live at Chickies and Pete's, and don't forget Chickies and Pete's has the happy hour specials. They got Thursday Night Football tonight. I love talking about the little NFC East game tonight because the loser of this game, the loser of the game tonight, sits in the basement all by themselves. Dallas and the Giants, and you can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. We got so much more to go, including football at 4. Jeff Kerr is pinch hitting today for the Inside the Birds guys on football at 4. He's coming up at 4 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock tonight, it's One Thought. Every game, Casey Joyner, he's got it for you right here on the Sports Bash, live from Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening.
Shop Macy's VIP sale, going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off the latest fall trends from designers that rarely go on sale. And save 15% off skincare, makeup, fragrances, and more. Plus, shop fall specials for even more great deals on top brands at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
With Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
All right, 3:29, Sports Bash Live, Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget, you got Thursday Night Football tonight. You can listen to the game here, and you can watch it right here. We got the Brewers and the Pirates on. You got Flyers tonight. Mitch Cobb.
Flyers preseason. They've been playing every night, I feel like. Every night there's a Flyers game.
And it's funny, preseason football. You can't play anybody. Preseason hockey, everyone's out there. Mitch Cobb making his home debut tonight.
Oh, the game's at home. I like that.
Kevin Durso will have the coverage on our website, 973ESPN.com. Durso is a machine on the Flyers coverage, Josh, is he not?
He might be the greatest Flyers reporter on the beat. I mean, the dude generates content at 973ESPN.com like he has nothing else to do in his life.
Yeah, you would think that this is all he does.
And what's amazing is, him and I are friends on Facebook. Like, he goes to concerts, he goes to Phillies games, him and his wife go out and do stuff. Like, I see them doing stuff. So the man has a full-blown life, and he covers the Flyers.
Yeah, work-life balance. He's doing a good job with it. But now it's Flyers season. Now the fun is behind him. He's got the Flyers covered. And if you're interested in Mitch Cobb's debut tonight, now it's not a regular season game, but he is making his Philadelphia home debut tonight. By the way, over/under 19 was the number. Goals.
For Mitchkov?
Yep.
Oh, I got to go over.
You'll be disappointed if he only gets 19?
He's going to get into the 20s for sure. If he stays healthy, yeah.
That's the number. Speaking of the numbers, let's take a look at the schedule this week. The NFL, our first look at week number 4 in the end. Actually, it's week 5 of the NFL. Week 5 of the NFL. Here's our first look at the NFL schedule. You got Dallas and New York tonight. Daniel Jones.
Week 4.
Is it week 4?
Yeah.
It's week 4. It's week 5 of college football.
Gotcha.
Because of the week 0.
Week 4. Okay. Week 4 NFL. Daniel Jones tonight in primetime. 1-13 straight up in a primetime game. The G-Men. They're 5-9 against the spread at night. 0-6 straight up at home at night. This is all lining up to a Dallas line of 2.5 and take and take Dallas. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that the Giants might. Is this Dallas team really lousy, or do they bounce back tonight? I don't know about that. I'm going Dallas 2.5.
Well, you might want to lean to the Giants, Mike, because the Cowboys are favored by 5 or 5.5 at the books.
5 or 5.5. That's a pretty big number. But keep in mind, Dak Prescott has done very well against bad teams. 32-14-2 against the spread against teams under 500. He is historically good as the bully.
Yeah, I mean, he's still facing Daniel Jones.
I like that Neighbors, man. I loved him coming out of the draft, and he's been awesome so far.
Really quick, no concerns about the Giants' pass rush against the pretty underwhelming Cowboys offensive line?
Yeah, I said 2.5. I think the Giants can keep the game close. 5.5, I tend to lean Giants here. At home, I think I lean the Giants with their defense.
Take those points.
All right, New Orleans and Atlanta, Sunday slate, division game here. Over the last 5 years, Kirk Cousins, 14-26 against the spread indoors. That's his home field, indoors.
I always love this matchup, New Orleans against Atlanta. For some reason, I love when they
Do you know this is the 110th time they play? You know what their records are?
Probably 55-55 or
55-54.
Wow.
They played 109 times.
Yep.
This is the 110th. They're 55-54 against each other.
And they're always so close, high scoring. Yeah.
Atlanta at home, I got to think they're the favorite here. I'm going to go Atlanta by 3.
Mike, it opened at 3.5, but now Atlanta's favored by 2.5. It's going down 1 whole point this week.
Interesting. 2.5, so I'm right there. I give you 3, 2.5. That's a win for me.
Yes.
Feeling kind of Atlanta here. Kind of feeling Atlanta at home.
Well, then you're going with the public money. The public money is going Atlanta in this game.
Yeah, I like them at home, though. I do like them at home here. By the way, the under has cashed in 9 times in a row. Kirk Cousins games dating back to his Minnesota days. All right, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Mike Tomlin road unders. That's the play. They are 85-62-1 to the under in his career, including 55-25-1 since 2015. It's the best of any head coach. They're on the road at Indianapolis. I think the quarterback in Indianapolis is the worst quarterback maybe in the entire league. I like Pittsburgh with their defense here and the under. I'm going Pittsburgh favored by 2, and I like them to win outright.
You're right there, Mike. Pittsburgh's favored by 1.5 in this game. The over-under is 40.
That's got under written all over it.
Yeah. Remember, they had under last week, and it was 35 Chargers and Steelers.
I don't see how the Colts could score. This kid playing quarterback is that bad. There are actually some reports about the locker rooms talking about now having to make a change.
Joe Flacco.
The Colts have held the ball for an average of 21 minutes in their first 3 games. That's the lowest in the NFL. That's because the quarterback
turns the ball over
horrendous.
All the time, right.
He's terrible. You know I hated him at the draft, though. I did not like him at all.
This is true.
Draft day, yes. Jacksonville and Houston.
Uh-oh. Short week for the Jags.
Trevor Lawrence has lost 8 consecutive starts going back to November of last year.
Dougie P has lost 8 consecutive starts as well.
Well, 8 straight because Lawrence got hurt at the end of last year.
Okay, he did.
Worst quarterbacks on the money line since December 1st last season. Trevor Lawrence, 0-8 straight up. Not good numbers for him against Houston, who lost last week on the road. Now they're at home. I got to feel good if I'm a Houston bettor right now. Give me Houston 6 against the Jags.
Nailed it, Mike. Most of the books have 6. A couple have the hook at 6.5, but most of them have exactly 6 for those Texans.
Yeah, Lawrence in his career 4-8 against the spread against the Texans. Not good.
I think Peterson's going to be cleaning out his office here maybe on Monday.
Wow, you think if they lose, he gets fired?
I mean, at some point there's got to be consequences for when you start the season 0-4 with a $250 million quarterback.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Green Bay, Vikings defense under Brian Flores. How about this? They are 3rd in EPA, 1st in total QB pressures, 1st in sacks. They allow 2 passing touchdowns all season, and they have 5 interceptions. This defense has been for real, but who's playing quarterback for Green Bay? I don't know that answer. I'm leaning Love, and if Love is in there, what's the line? Minnesota. By the way, actually, Minnesota with Sam Darnold going on the road.
That's correct.
Very interesting here. This is a very interesting spot. You don't know what's going on at quarterback. I assume, right? Because Sam Darnold, by the way, 21-35 straight up as a starter. He has not been good. 5-9 as a favorite, 16-26 straight up as a dog.
Yeah, but most of that was with the Jets.
Right. So the numbers for him look really bad, but this is a completely different spot. I don't know who the quarterback is for Green Bay. I think it's going to be Love this week, right?
Love is listed as questionable right now. Matt LaFleur said that they are hoping to have him back if everything, the trend's in the right direction is the line he used.
If that's the case, you got Green Bay at home, probably 2.
You get the right idea, Mike. It's 2.5 or 3 at all the books. Certain books are still hanging on to that 3 for dear life.
By the way, what a scene in Oakland.
It is quite the scene. I mean, I'm just glued to the TV.
You see Barry Zito do the national anthem?
Coliseum.
Yeah, it's the final home game for the Oakland. You know what I watched this morning on YouTube? The final inning of the final game in Montreal. Very sad scene when a team loses their team. I mean, they just ripped the team right away from you. It's awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
But you know what? The fans didn't show up. Shame on them.
One of the grounds crew guys was handing out dirt last night to people in water bottles and popcorn buckets.
I got a little nugget for you, PG. I have dirt from the Oakland Alameda Coliseum.
Do you really?
I have dirt from every stadium in baseball.
How do you get that?
I got it as a Christmas present one year from my father. They're in these little coin things, and it's the dirt from every stadium in baseball.
Well, that's a dirty gift.
All right, here we go. First look at the schedule. Cincinnati and Carolina. Bengals would be the 8th team in the last decade to be a road favorite in their 4th game of the year after starting 0-3. That's where they are right now.
This is the Andy Dalton game.
This is the Andy Dalton game against his former team. You know he's like the all-time leading passer in Bengals history, touchdowns, yardage, all that stuff. But the upgrade from Young to Dalton is unbelievable. So the Bengals would be the 8th team in the last decade to be a road favorite here. If they're the favorite against Carolina, those teams are 8-0 straight up in this spot. So Cincinnati on the road at Carolina, I gotta think Cincinnati's a favorite here. And I think that they probably win the game outright. So give me Cincinnati 2.5 at Carolina. I like the Bengals outright.
Bengals are favored by 4.5 in this game. They actually open at 6.5. Mike, the public, though, is picking the Bengals over 2/3 the bet. So you're a little worried too much public money is going Bengals on the road.
Yeah, and I blasted Burrow yesterday, and I do feel a little bad about them. But that Carolina team, I mean, Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton for a reason. I mean, he's not great, but he's competent. That's all you need is competence.
Bengals defense isn't very good
the Raiders.
either. Bengals defense like horrible on Monday night.
Yeah. All right. Rams and Bears. Rams and Bears. A lot of injuries on that Rams team. Bears offensive line is so bad. Caleb Williams has 28 total bad throws this season. That means I'm going to go Casey Jr. Those are defined as passes off target. It's the most in the NFL by far. Dak Prescott's number 2. Bo Nix is number 3. I didn't like Williams on draft day. I don't like him now. I like the Rams even with all the injuries here. Give me the Rams, but I think the Bears are favored by 2, and I like the Rams straight up.
Rams are a 3-point dog in this game.
I said 2, and they're, I like the Rams. I like the Rams to beat the Bears. I think that Bears offensive line is a big problem. They can't run the ball a lick either, and you're putting so much on that kid's plate, and I just don't think he is the primetime guy he thought he was.
You can get the Rams on the money line for plus 130 or 131. You taking that?
I am.
Rams plus money?
Plus money.
Yeah, to win the game?
Yeah. Straight up. All right.
Straight up. Money line.
I like that too. Denver and the Jets. Jets are coming off a Thursday night game. Aaron Rodgers is going to face a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix this week. Rodgers against rookies, 15-6 straight up. So you got to feel good about the Jets, especially Denver not winning 2 games in a row on the road. This feels like Jets. Give me Jets by 6, and I like the Jets to win the game.
Mike, you got the right idea. Jets are favored by 7.5 in this game.
Yeah, I like the Jets.
7.5 is actually the largest spread this week.
Yeah,
Second
Bo
largest
Nix.
spread this week.
No, Bo Nix against a good defense, I think, is in some big trouble. Bo Nix winning 2 straight road games, that to me seems a little far-fetched, if you ask
me. See, I gotta be honest, Mike. I think a big reason why the Broncos won last week was Sean Payton. Sean Payton has owned Todd Bowles over the years. I think that's why they won.
Maybe the Eagles can hire Sean Payton just for this week.
Consultant on the phone.
Washington, Arizona.
Kyler
Murray.
Great quarterback matchup.
Murray success when he's the underdog. 26-16-2 as a dog, Kyler Murray. So are they a home dog in this one? I doubt it. Though. So give me Arizona by 3 against Washington. You got Daniels against Murray. Should be a fun one.
Remember, this is Cliff Kingsbury's old protege versus his new protege as well. Keep that in mind. Cardinals are favored by 3.5. They're getting the 3 and the hook, Mike.
Okay, so I was close. If Washington wins, they'll be 3-1.
But will Washington cover?
I like Arizona. I think the Jaden Daniels hype is warranted, but to do it 2 weeks in a row on the road as a rookie, that's a lot to ask. They won last week at Cincinnati. Keep that in mind. In New England and San Francisco, since 2022, the Niners have 12 losses when leading by 10 points at any point of a game. So can they get up big in this game and then cough it back up? I don't see how New England scores a lot of points in this game. So I think New England, the Niners get up and hold. Low-scoring game, probably underplay here. San Francisco at home, probably favored by like 5 with all those injuries.
Mike, I mentioned earlier the Jets were the largest spread of the weekend. The 49ers have the largest spread.
Wow.
This is 10.5.
What would the line be if they were healthy?
11.5, according to it. Open actually at 11.5 and 12. The line has gone down because of the injury report this week.
Well, the injury report's been the same. I mean, Deebo Samuel's out, McCaffrey's out. I'm saying, what if they are all playing? What's the line in this game? 18?
There's speculation Trent Williams will not be available.
Well, I'm saying they have a ton of injuries. Now, are you missing my point on the question here? What would the line be if they were healthy? You're telling me the line is 10 and all of those guys are out. If they were all playing,
2 touchdowns.
What would the line be?
I would have to say 14.
I'd say 17.5.
That's a pretty big number for the NFL, though.
It is, but we've seen those numbers in the last couple of years for some big ones. But you're telling me the line is double digits with no Deebo, no McCaffrey,
no Trent Williams,
Trent Williams. No, is Kittle playing?
Kittle's questionable right now.
Jeez.
Nobody's playing except for Juwan Jennings.
Ayuk, is he playing?
I think he's playing, but apparently he was not on the injury report, but there was some reason why he had to leave practice yesterday.
All right, Browns in Vegas. This Browns team stinks.
They really are.
The quarterback's awful. And then the quarterback says yesterday, well, I don't really want to have to move more. Are you kidding me?
I'm a quarterback, not a running back. That's what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
I'd say to me, you got to step in there and just cut the guy.
Really? Eat the money.
Yeah.
Cut the guy.
You got to change the culture and just change it.
I mean, Andrew Berry is from the Eagles organization.
I think Vegas, though, they're the only team probably with more problems than the Browns. They're already talking about replacing Gardner Minshew.
Those Raiders always have problems.
Yeah, business decisions.
Yep.
This is a business that I don't want to be in, betting Cleveland and Vegas. I'll take Vegas, probably a home favorite by like 1.
You got the right idea, Mike. It's a 2-point spread for the Raiders at home. Any interest in the over-under here? Maybe think the under?
I have no interest in that game at all.
None at all.
Nope. What is the over-under? I don't want to play this game in any stretch.
It's 37.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, my goodness.
2 quarterbacks stink. Kansas City and the Chargers. Kansas City's been getting by the skin of their teeth. Chargers, who's playing quarterback there this week?
Justin Herbert is questionable right now with that high ankle sprain. He's reportedly out of the boot now, but no guarantee he starts this Sunday.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that. Chiefs are 9-0 in their last 9
Really quick,
games.
The Chargers are without both of their starting tackles this Sunday.
That's no good either. 9-0 in their last 9 games, including the playoffs, but they've won those games by only 54 points. Can the Chargers defense, which is pretty good, keep this game close? I would imagine the Chargers are a home dog in this one. Give me Kansas City by 4, and I think it's a low-scoring game.
Kansas City is favored by 7.
Okay.
and on
What's the
road.
over-under?
The over-under would be 40.
Yeah, kind of low. I mean, that's a low over-under, but I don't think there's a lot of points in this game. Chargers defense is pretty good. Last week, the game against Pittsburgh was 20-10. That's
right.
only 30 points, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're somewhere in that range. All right, Buffalo-Baltimore. I think this is the Sunday night game. You
yes,
can listen
sir.
to it on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, the Chiefs and Chargers will pick that game up in progress after the Eagles and Buccaneers. Buffalo and Baltimore. Baltimore ran the ball really well finally last week, but Buffalo, to me, has got to be the biggest surprise in the league. I didn't think they would be, we all thought they were going to take a step back. A lot of people did, but they played above their heads in my mind. But going to Baltimore, who lost at home to Vegas, I can't imagine that they lay an egg again at home. I'll take Baltimore at home by 3.5.
Got the right idea, Mike. Baltimore is favored by 2.5 at all the sports books. The money is almost 50-50 here. 51% for the Ravens at home is a public taking.
All right, doubleheader Monday nighter again this week. You get the double disco Monday night. Tennessee, Miami. Tennessee is playing against, who's there? Skylar Thompson this week?
He's questionable right now after being smashed in the chest.
Snoop Huntley, he's in the mix.
Tim Boyle.
He's in Miami now. That's right.
Yeah. And they also have, Boyle.
Snoop or Boyle, who you like?
Well, if Huntley's ready to play and he's there, I would definitely, he would give you at least a shot.
Just running in circles?
Yeah. That's better than, I think, what they have.
Teams the last 4 years after playing in Seattle, which Miami did last week, they're 19-6 against the spread. They're at home this week, Miami. I don't like this game at all. I'd stay away from it, but Miami at home, give me Miami by 1.5.
Nailed it, Mike. It's 1.5 at half the books. The other half are just 1 point for the Dolphins at home. I got to admit, I like the Titans in this game.
Yeah, I don't want to play that game with the quarterback. I hate Levis, so I think he's terrible.
No Mayo for you.
Nope, no Mayo. Seattle, Detroit. This is your second Monday night game.
Much
the
better
Seahawks
game.
and Lions have played each other in each of the last 3 seasons. They've combined to score 68, 93, and 80. So not a lot of defense when these two teams play. The Seahawks are the first team to start 3-0 and allow fewer than 150 yards passing in all the games. So this one's going to be a lot of fun. I think Detroit's favored at home. Give me Detroit by 5, but that game should be a lot of fun. I like Detroit, though. I feel like Seattle's offense is going to stall finally this week.
Interesting number you used there, Mike, because the line opened at 5.5, but it is now down to 3.5. A lot of public money coming in on the Seahawks.
Okay, so I like Detroit, and I feel good about the Detroit blowout call. There you go. All right, there's your first look at the NFL schedule, the numbers and some stats for you to get you ready for week number 4 in the NFL. Don't forget, you can listen to the Eagles and the Buccaneers right here on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, we have that game for you. And tonight's Thursday night game, the Cowboys and the Giants. We're live at Chickies and Pete's here in Egg Harbor Township. Starting to fill up a little bit
Yeah,
here.
the bar is getting a little packed here.
Yeah, you got this final A's game at the...
This is a great scene out there, man. It really is.
Do they have the upper deck open?
Yeah.
And by the way, the Thursday night game will be on here tonight at Chickies and Pete's in the HT. All right, when we come back, we'll continue along, including Jeff Kerr filling in for football at 4 today. We'll get his thoughts on the Eagles and the Bucks and everything else happening on 97.3.
It's the Sports.
Shop Macy's VIP sale going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off the latest fall trends from designers that rarely go on sale. And save 15% off skincare, makeup, fragrances, and more. Plus, shop fall specials for even more great deals on top brands at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
For next hour, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. You know, Jeff Kerr covers the NFL for CBS Sports. He covers the Phillies for CBS 3, so maybe we'll get some Phillies thoughts from him as well. On the NFL, football at 4 on the other side as the Eagles get ready to take on the Buccaneers. We had McMullen on earlier in the show. He talked about the injuries. Nobody back at practice today other than Mekhi Becton. He's the only Eagle that made it back onto the practice field. So Becton will be back at right guard. Lane Johnson was out on the field, but he did not practice, still going through the concussion protocol. You got the 2 receivers out. McMullen told us earlier today, probably going to have to bring 2 guys up off the practice squad. You got, Paris Campbell and John Ross, possibly.
John Ross just signed this week, yep.
Yeah, he got signed to the practice squad.
Correct.
And then Paris Campbell, they elevated him last week. He was on the ride. I think he caught a pass in the game, didn't he?
Yeah, he got out there for several snaps.
Hey, we're live. If you're watching on the X platform, you can see that I am not in the studio. I'm at Chickens and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. Stop on out and have a nice cold one. This A's-Rangers game is awesome scene in Oakland, as it looks like it's their final home game in Oakland. They are now going to be heading to Sacramento to play, so the place is literally packed. So it's kind of a chilling scene watching it. They have that game on here. And then, of course, tonight, you've got the Thursday night football game between the Cowboys and the Giants. So you get to see a little NFC East flavor. Hey, I want to thank our friends over at Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. They are your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907, online at broadleys.net. When we come back, CBS Sports NFL writer Jeff Kerr joins me on the Sports Bash.
97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. It's the fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Pinch hitting for the Inside the Birds guys today. He's CBS Sports NFL writer Jeff Kerr. You have the big Football at 4 spot today, Jeff. What's going on, buddy?
Pretty good. I don't smell like beer anymore. I'll just say that for Monday night. So, everything's going pretty good right now, Mike.
Yeah, Jeff covers the Phillies for CBS 3 as well. We'll get some Phillies thoughts a little bit later on, I guess, as well. But, we got Eagles and Bucks this weekend. And obviously, big storyline, I guess, ahead of some of the other stuff, the Sirianni decisions, and we'll get your thoughts on all that, is all the injuries, Jeff. Do we feel that a lot of the guys that have been on that injured list, do we feel that they're going to be out this week?
I have a good feeling A.J. Brown's not going to be playing. I mean, if he does play, and again, we'll have to see what the injury report says today. But, he wasn't out of practice yesterday. Devonta Smith, the concussion protocol is so much harder to clear nowadays. I'll be shocked if he plays Sunday, and you're already down Britton Covey, who's going to be out 6 weeks with that clavicle injury. So, really it's going to be Paris Campbell, Jahan Dotson, and Johnny Wilson as your receivers this week. And going to be a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert again.
Yeah, and this is a team that they have struggled with, Jeff. We know the blitz and the zone defense, the Todd Bowles stuff. This is something that Jalen Hurts has had problems. That playoff game did not go very well for them without A.J. Brown. Without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, is this a week where Todd Bowles is really licking his chops to see this Eagles offense?
Oh, yeah, I think he's going to be testing Jalen Hurts even more. And look, Todd Bowles has given his props to Jalen Hurts throughout the week, but he also knows they got to get to Jalen. And I think it's going to be up to Kellen Moore to design more quick plays. And I pointed this out today for a story on CBSSports.com. And I'm glad, we were asking Jalen, Nick, all those guys about the blitz, about how Jalen's handling the blitz. I don't think people realize Jalen Hurts' completion percentage is going up 11% against the blitz from last year. And it's going up over 20% since his rookie year. I mean, it's been climbing every single year, but this year it's 72.4%. And that is un-Jalen Hurts-like. And yeah, does he have an interception when he's been blitzed? Yes. But that was also late in the Falcons game too. But overall, he's been really good against the blitz. And you're seeing the results.
Jeff, one of the big stories, obviously, leading into this week, you talk about the results of the Eagles' decisions to go for it on fourth down. I know you wrote about it a couple of days ago over at CBS Sports. Nick Sirianni defending the fourth down calls. Jason Kelce has come out and defended them, as have others. Former players, a lot of them, plus Dallas Goedert was on the Pat McAfee show this week. A lot of people kind of sticking up for Sirianni, saying, we like the aggressiveness. Obviously, Sirianni there. Kelce came out. Those aggressive play calls is what helped us in 2022. So I guess the question becomes, for the Eagles to hit their ceiling, to be the best version of themselves, do they have to remain that aggressive team and say, hey, we might not get them all, but we're going to keep going for them, and maybe it doesn't work in week 2 or week 3, but in week 14 or 15, we get one that helps us get to where we need to be?
I believe in aggressiveness, but I believe in being consistent with your aggressiveness. I don't like the times Nick is being aggressive. Okay, you're 4th and 1 at the 15. There's 14 seconds left. Say you get it. What they have? One timeout, right? Right, mm-hmm. Mike? Am I correct on that? So
14 seconds, one timeout. They're down 3-0. Yes.
Yep. And you did a running play. Say you get the running play. You got to call timeout. Okay, Nick says they have 2 shots at the end zone. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. But, and again, it could be the play call. It could be the decision. I thought they should have just went tush-push there. But again, maybe Brian Baldinger or someone like that can break down that play better than what I could. I thought they were just going to go tush-push, try to get the yard to call timeout. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like the decision because you were down 3-0, you could take 3 points. I think Nick is being a little too over-aggressive in these situations. Like, if you want to go for it between the 30 and the 40.
But do you get the sense that the players are not on board with his aggressiveness?
I don't get that sense, no.
Because that's what it ultimately comes down to. The conversation, Jeff, has been, are the players going to start to lose confidence in him? Do they not want to play for him? Do they look at him as costing them games? If that's not the case, and he's saying, we're going to keep going for it, and the players are backing him and on board with that, that's where there's a different dynamic to this, right?
Yeah. You know what my issue is now that it's been, 4 days since this has happened? I did not like him overriding Kellen Moore, the play caller of this offense, to have your play. It didn't work, Nick, so that puts more on you. And I don't understand why it's certain situations. Like, does he get tired of hearing? He reads stuff. Does he get tired of hearing guys like you and me calling him a CEO coach?
Mm-hmm. Well, he said as much that he hears stuff and you can't miss it. It's everywhere. It's out there. We see stuff. I agree with you on that. I think the biggest mistake that he made in this whole situation was basically last week saying, Moore calls the plays. And then this week saying, no, I'm the one who does that. I overruled him on that. So now you've opened up Pandora's box every week to say, if there's a mistake, well, whose mistake was it?
Yeah, and I don't think that's consistent enough. And that's where my issue comes in. Look, you want to go for it, fine. But why does it have to be your decision and your call? Why can't it be your decision but Kellen's call? And you can still blame yourself for why the decision was wrong, right? Or you can say, look, I'm confident my process was, and you could even say, would I have done it differently? Maybe, but I don't think you're throwing your offensive coordinator under the bus by doing that. I still think if you're consistent and allow Kellen Moore to be Kellen Moore, maybe they do convert that fourth down. We're not even talking about this today.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, looking back and ahead. You wrote about Saquon Barkley overcoming that drop. Did he kind of have that thing lingering on him? Because the talk during the week, oddly enough, it wasn't about him dropping the ball as much as it was Sirianni making the decision to throw him the ball. But did he kind of carry that play with him?
I think Saquon couldn't wait till the next game. Meaning, look, it's almost like, you have a bad experience on a roller coaster, for example, right? Say you're going on a roller coaster when you're 7.
Yep.
You have a bad experience, but you still want to go on the roller coaster, right? Well, what's the best way to overcome that? Go on the roller coaster again. And that's how I look at it with Saquon. I just think he needed to play another football game. I don't think it lingered. Again, he's had a lot of trials. He's had a lot of tribulations in his career. He owned up to it. I did not agree with people arguing over the pass on third down because it worked. All Saquon had to do was catch the ball. And again, it's not a conversation. As a matter of fact, remember, you and I discussed this last week. Everything after that drop, I kind of just took out of my mind because if he catches that ball, the defense doesn't collapse. And we're probably talking about the defense in a different way. We're still talking about the pass rush, but we're not talking about it as egregiously as we did. Or Nick kicking the field goal on fourth down. Or Jalen throwing the interception. None of that stuff happens. It's the cause and effect theory. So, go ahead, Mike.
No, well, and listen, it's something that Jason Kelce mentioned is, we're being critical of the play, the decisions, because the results were not the cause and the effect. The play call, the one that you brought up, I want to get your opinion on this. The tush-push fourth down. I think they thought they were going to score a touchdown on that play. I really do. I think they thought they were going to catch the Saints napping, bunched up at the line thinking tush-push is coming and selling out for a tush-push and then having nobody on the outside hitting that corner for a 15-yard touchdown run. I really think they thought they were going to score because your point is valid. If you get the tush-push or you get the first down and you get tackled, then what? You're going to call timeout and do what? So I really think they felt, hey, let's catch them falling asleep here and see if we can get 6.
Yeah, and if you look at that play, you could tell it was Nick's play, and I didn't think of it at the time, but I'm like, wait a minute, Nick kind of did a play like that with DeAndre Swift last year.
They ran it last year one time. I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a copycat league. I'm sure teams prepared for that. And to that side, too, they're probably like, hey, it's in the wallet. They're going to do this. And the Saints are ready for it. They're an aggressive defense. And look, I think where people are so upset with Nick Sirianni is on, playing Monday morning quarterback. The Eagles won that game probably in spite of him. Because if Nick doesn't chase first downs and takes points. By the way, he decides to kick. All of a sudden, he remembers Jake Elliott's on his team when a 60-yard field goal's up in the air.
Yeah.
I am like that either.
No, it was a bizarre the whole situation, going for it with 14 seconds left instead of taking the 3. Your head scratching there. I guess, in the big picture, you're wondering, are these decisions that he's making because he really has convictions in them? Did he do it because he said the week before, hey, I would do it again, and even after watching it, I feel even better? Or is this whole thing kind of behind them, and it's like, you know what, we won a game on the road, I made some decisions, I got to start, tightening this thing up now?
Yeah, you know what, Mike? Do you think he'll go more conservative on Sunday knowing the cards he's dealt?
I'll tell you what, that's a good question is, Jeff, how do you play it knowing you're shorthanded? Like if Smith and Brown don't play, we talked about this earlier, you might have 2 guys off the practice squad playing wide receiver, so do you go a little bit more? Because I thought the what lost the Saints the game was how conservative they were.
I agree. And I thought the Saints were, I think, in a way, the Saints thought if we score 20, we're going to beat this team. Well, you didn't score 20. You scored 12. And I think they caught the Eagles' nap. They caught the Eagles' nap.
Jeff, this was a team that had 91 points in 2 games. I mean, you're scoring 45 points a game. And this is a defense that had really struggled. I don't know how you go into a game thinking 20 points is what we're aiming for here.
You know what bothered me about the Saints through 2 games? I knew Carolina's defense wasn't good.
Sure.
And I think we learned Dallas's defense isn't really good either. We still don't know what to make of the Eagles yet. I think we saw the Eagles defense not at their best, but pretty close to it on Sunday. And it gave me it was more of an encouraging sign of what the Eagles can be than what they showed the first 2 weeks.
Well, you figure moving forward, what did you take from the defense that you think is sustainable?
I think their linebackers, and remember, we talked about this in August. I thought their linebackers were a lot better than a lot of people are giving credit for. In fact, they're so good they don't even need Devin White to play. If we're going to be realistic here, I think you're getting the most out of Zach Bond, definitely, and I think that Kobe Dean, he's not a liability for you. So that's key. I like their secondary, I think they have the lowest completion percentage allowed in the NFL for 3 weeks. It's either first or second. I got to remember because this was before the Monday games. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's impressive, right? I mean, are they giving up a lot of big plays? Yes. But you're seeing, I think the thing we got to harp on when it comes to this defense, Mike, is the pass rush. And meaning not the interior pass rush, the guys on the edge. But I think Vic Fangio said, okay, this isn't working. Let's go to 5 technique. Let's go to a 6-1. That seemed to work for them. Will it work every week? Maybe, but I think Vic Fangio said to himself, okay, maybe Bryce Huff ain't getting the job done, but we're a better team when I got Milton Williams on the field with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
No doubt. And listen, Jordan Davis played a heck of a game, but Eric McCoy went out, and you wonder how much that factored into him really dominating the game. That matchup on the offensive line, you wrote about Brandon Graham over at CBS Sports, and you wonder whether Graham has some second thoughts the way he's playing this year. But how important has he been with the lack of pass rush from the guys that they were really counting on?
Brandon Graham has a 17.6% pressure rate this year. That's the highest of his career. Now, granted, it's only 3 games, but it's 36. Like, he was an All-Pro in 2016. He was an All-Pro in 22. He has first double-digit season in 22, and he's having a better year in terms of getting to the quarterback, but at least by pressure rate. Now, the sacks aren't there, and I know BG is ultimately going to judge himself on sacks, but I think Vic Fangio, we're learning.
It seems that Vic Fangio trusts him more than anybody else.
Yeah, I think it's like, look, I don't care if there's no more tread on your tires. I'm going to use every single ounce of tread you got because in my mind, you are coming back next year. If you want to, great. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I would trust Brandon Graham over Bryce Huff right now.
It's funny you say that. McMullen back in training camp, he had said to me, I think that, knowing that he's not coming back next year, that they're going to let him empty the tank, meaning we're not going to put you on a pitch count. We're going to play you more because you're not coming back next year. And it seems that might be the case.
Yeah, and I think he's okay with that. Look, I mean, he's got plenty of time to make this decision, right? But, I don't blame him if he's starting to doubt it a bit, because if he has a big year and he wants to do it another year, the Eagles are going to bring him back. Who's going to stop him? So, look at Jason Peters, right? I know Jason Peters didn't finish his career with the Eagles, but he's still getting workouts with the Seahawks today, and they go, why is a 42-year-old getting workouts? I'm like, because a 42-year-old can still play football.
The other guy on defense, real quick, you got Blankenship. I want to get your thoughts on him. He's made 2 plays, very similar, by the way, just kind of hanging out in center field and coming in there. But he's kind of an unassuming member of this defense. But the safety position as a tandem, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship, how much of an upgrade is that tandem over Blankenship and the merry men he played next to last year?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Epps from 2 years ago. And look, Gardner-Johnson has received his fair share of criticism for the deep balls he's given up and the touchdowns he's given up. But the guy makes plays on 4th and short, 3rd and short for you. And he's been able to play the box, and Reed's been able to play center field. I think that's what Gardner-Johnson opens up for Reed Blankenship. And, last year I thought Reed Blankenship had a great year. For what you expected out of him, he's a starting safety in this league. And the Eagles treat him as such. By the way, Mike, they're going to get Sidney Brown back soon. So I'm curious how he's going to fit into the equation, because Sidney Brown is good enough to play a lot of snaps.
I didn't even consider where they might, do with him. Good point when he comes back is what happens with Sidney Brown. What's his role in this particular defense? And by the way, Quinyon Mitchell's another guy who, has had a really interesting start to this season. Him, and I guess we might start to see more Cooper DeJean as well.
Yeah, I think eventually Cooper DeJean is going to be in the slot, because that's what they want. They want Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, and they're keeping him on the outside right now, Cooper DeJean in the slot. But Avonte Maddox has played well the last 2 weeks. He's not exactly giving up that job. Mm-hmm. The guys, I think, not that they're falling out of favor, but I'm hoping the fans start to realize they're more depth pieces. And look, they're great guys. Kaylee Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, they're not the worst backups you can have in the world. Isaiah Rodgers is full of energy, full of life. You know, he really wants to get out there, but you look at him and he's small. And not exactly his fault, but, you know, he's better than anything they've carried in terms of depth the last 2 years.
Well, we knew going into training camp how many pieces in that secondary were interesting. How many pieces in that secondary we thought were going to battle it out, and we were like, man, this is going to be a really good battle of who are the guys they end up keeping with this whole group of guys that all had some intriguing talent. So we're seeing a better secondary than land. By the way, James Bradbury, what happens when he's ready to come back? Keep that in mind, too. You mentioned Sidney Brown. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, covers the NFL. By the way, Dallas and the Giants tonight. Let's get some thoughts on that from you. Dallas on the road. They've been terrible so far in some home games. Do we really think this Dallas team, who's owned the Giants recently, are the Dallas Cowboys as bad as they've looked, bad enough to go to New York and lose to the Giants tonight?
Boy, I'll tell you what, talk about a big Week 4 game, Mike. And you know what, if I wasn't so busy covering the Phillies this week, I might have making that trek up the MetLife Stadium, because that's a huge game for both those teams, right? Brian Dable's been kind of on the hot seat. And look, I think the Giants got to play with house money tonight, by the way. Because the Cowboys, if they lose, you're really going to hear fire Mike McCarthy. Mike Zimmer, the game has passed him by. Did they make a mistake paying Dak and CeeDee Lamb? They did not. By the way, Mike, this is what upsets me about the Cowboys. Do you ever see how they run their offense now? Did they just, only want CeeDee Lamb to run fly routes?
Well, they don't really have a great, other option. They have no run game to speak of. I mean, the two running backs options, they said it yesterday, we couldn't afford Henry. Well, you're left over with the crumbs that you have now. This offense, it's definitely limited.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott was the worst running back in football when they got rid of him, and that was one of the smartest moves they did, only to bring him back 2 years later, and he's a worse version of himself. I don't understand what they're doing, and, I get you let Tyron Smith go. Okay, I get it. You can't pay him. You can't pay everybody, right? But you draft Tyler Guy, you draft Cooper Beebe. You knew that was going to take some time.
You can pay people if you manage the cap correctly. Their problem is they wait and wait to pay these guys, and then the way they structure the deals, they don't have the ability, they don't have the creativity. Guys like Howie Roseman just must crack up laughing at how bad they are at managing their cap. If you put Roseman in Dallas, the way he would stack that route, because they do a good job of drafting and finding talent. They just don't know how to sign the talent and keep it there and then add to it. When was the last time Dallas added a free agent to the mix to help them?
Man, that's a good question. Now, last year they did add Stephon Gilmore. I thought that was a big signing for them. That was a one-year deal where they traded for him. He wasn't even a free agent. So I digress on that. They traded for Brandon Cooks. Yeah, they didn't sign him either. So I'm trying to think.
What was the last impactful free agent? Now, listen, the Dallas guy might say, well, you shouldn't rely on free agency. Okay, fine, but this team needs sometime a player to help them over. They can't afford it. They just said it. They can't afford it because they are so poorly managed.
But look at what the Minnesota Vikings did. They relied on free agency. They got guys like Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel and Sam Darnold, guys like that. And they signed Aaron Jones, too, and he got cut by the Packers. They had a really good offseason, and I thought they'd be better than what a lot of projections were, but I'm like, okay, I just got to see it out of the quarterback. Whoever the quarterback is, then you knew it was Darnold. You're like, well, okay, I got to go off history with Darnold, but, you can't ignore that Kyle Shanahan system and what it does for these guys.
Absolutely. That's tonight on 97.3 ESPN. It's the Cowboys and the Giants, and you can listen to it. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, and CBS 3, he covers the Phillies for CBS 3. So take us inside the atmosphere in the locker room the other night.
Crazy. Not as crazy as in years past, but there was a lot of beer going. My phone got drowsed with beer. I got drowsed with beer. Took a lot of pictures of a lot of guys I'm close with on the team, just them celebrating. It was a good time talking to a lot of the players and interviewing a lot of those guys. You can barely hear yourself. They could barely hear you. It was funny because we talked about I talked about some of the guys Wednesday night. I don't even remember what you asked me Monday night. I'm like, I forgot what I even asked, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was a good time, Mike. It was well deserved. Your first division title in 13 years. Talked to John Middleton. John, I say this with John honestly. You would think he's kind of a salesman, but he really isn't. I think he truly believes from the heart. Like, he knows how good this team is. He knows how this team is built for October, because this is what they wanted, right? When you're having the debate whether Christopher Sanchez is going to be your number 2 pitcher over Aaron Nola or not because of his home road splits, I think that's a sign of a really good team. And, when you look at their bullpen, Estevez, Hoffman, Kerkering, Alvarado, Strahm, Milton's right. Find me a better bullpen. Find me guys that that's going to be Rob Thompson.
I said before, Jeff, the difference between this team is I think their bullpen, because 2022, their bullpen was really Alvarado and Dominguez. Other than that, you had Bellotti and Brogdon, a bunch of guys who kind of vagabond.
Who aren't in the majors.
Right.
Yeah.
Last year, you had a lot of like Hoffman, who was just kind of came out of nowhere, Strahm, Alvarado, and then you had Kimbrel at the back end. Now, the question is, you've got a lot of those guys who have now got more experience, but is Estevez, he is an upgrade over Kimbrel, but is it a big enough upgrade?
Yeah, exactly. And, is this team better with Jeff Hoffman pitching the 8th and Carlos Estevez pitching the 9th? Or do you make Hoffman that 9th inning guy? I still am under the impression they think Jeff Hoffman could be a 9th inning guy, but I think they'd rather have him as an 8th inning guy.
All right, Jeff. Get Jeff's coverage of the Phillies, CBS 3. He does, of course, the podcast on the X platform at Jeff Kerr CBS on the Phillies, and of course, right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Pinch hitting today in the football at 4. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, man. And Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, will be back next week in his normal spot. And, of course, the Phillies. You can check out his Phillies coverage over at CBS 3, but his NFL coverage, as always, at CBS Sports. Don't forget, coming up, Nick's Nuggets are on the way. Nick Earnshaw is here. He'll have his takes and his Nuggets this hour of the show. It's brought to you by Jersey Cow. It's a great place for the family to hang out and eat ice cream. They're open noon to 10 at their Northfield and Brigantine locations every day. Ice cream is a year-round thing at Jersey Cow. All right, Sports Bash is live. By the way, you think the A's would have been any better if they had a crowd to play in front of all year? They're up 2-0 in this game.
They've actually had a pretty good second half of the season. If you look at their splits.
If anybody came out to watch them, maybe they would be better.
Well, we'll see next year in Sacramento when they play in front of about 3,000 people.
You think people will go to those games?
Would you?
Yeah.
Would you?
Of course. Hey, I'll go.
You'll go anywhere.
I'll go anywhere. I love a ball game. I love a game. I just love being in the building. I don't care if my team's good. I said the most games I ever went to in a season were the process years. I went to like half the games during those process years.
And now look at them.
Now I don't go at all.
Now they're all grown up.
They're all grown up.
Yep.
We'll talk more Sixers. They open up camp on Monday.
In the Bahamas, right?
Are they in the Bahamas?
I think they're going to some...
I thought they were... Are they in
Caribbean.
Iowa? No, you're right. No, they're playing a preseason game in Iowa.
And the training camp is in Atlantis,
I think you're right.
Bahamas.
I think you're right about that. All right, coming up, Nick's Nuggets are on the way. Sports Bash Live at Chickies and Pete's here in Egg Harbor Township, where tonight they'll have the Thursday night football game. They got happy hour specials 4 to 6. Stop on out and get them. They're underway, and we're here till 6 tonight on the Sports Bash.
We have the perfect.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's GOLO.com. Again, GOLO.com.
Traffic. You come with me. The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, 434 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, live at Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget their happy hours, and of course, it's the place to watch all the game, the official restaurant and bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can listen to the Eagles and the Bucks this Sunday. Coverage at noon. Kickoff at 1. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. We're also your home for Phillies Red October baseball, and you can listen to every pitch of the Phillies playoff run on 97.3 ESPN. It starts on Saturday, October the 5th. You know, the Phillies, the schedule's not out yet, but they're going to play on Saturday the 5th and Sunday the 6th. So luckily, Phillies fans and Eagles fans, the Eagles have a bye that week. So you don't have to worry about the conflict of Phillies and Eagles at the same time. But are you disappointed that your NFL Sunday might be interrupted by having to watch a Phillies baseball game?
No, absolutely not.
You're not worried about that?
Nope. They almost did me a favor by giving the Eagles a bye.
Well, the Eagles bye definitely helps.
So I can just 100% solely focus on.
But like Thursday night, if the Eagles aren't playing, Thursday night football, and the Phillies are on, you going Phillies or Thursday night football?
Regular season Phillies?
Like tonight, if the Phillies are playing, would you be watching Dallas Giants or Phillies?
I would probably go Dallas Giants.
See?
Yeah.
But you only get these 17 Sundays. So to have to give up a Sunday to get involved in the baseball is tough, man. I mean, I'll go Phillies on the Sunday. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying, I do miss that element of getting the game in on a Sunday. Like Sunday Night Baseball the other night. The Phillies played Sunday Night Baseball.
That was a good game.
And they're up against the Sunday Night Football game.
Yep. I watched Sunday Night Baseball.
You did?
I did.
All right. Good for you. I'm happy to hear that. Phillies playoff baseball. Listen, every pitch right here on 97.3 ESPN. Again, I believe it's going to start Saturday the 5th will be game 1, and Sunday the 6th will be game 2. And you can listen to all that right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, let's bring in Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, the Fanatics Sportsbook at the Gallery Bar, Book and Games. And Nick Earnshaw is back with another edition of Nick's Nuggets here on the Sports Bash. All right, Nick, what kind of nuggets do we have for today?
What's going on, Mike? Pete, nice to see you as well. Hope you got your barbecue sauce, your honey mustard, whatever you got for the Nuggets today. We got to talk about
this guy. By the way, this guy's blowing up a baseball in the middle of the field. He's getting ready to put. You know, are you watching this A's game?
No, I'm not watching it. I know it's the last day. It was one of the Nuggets I had. I'll start with that.
Full house, man. It's a full house. They got guys banging on drums. They got a guy blowing up a baseball. It's unbelievable scene at this place.
How about that? Yeah, at the Coliseum, last game that's being played there. Did you see? So nugget number 1, this was going to be nugget number 2, but we'll go to it, Mike, since you brought it up. Nugget number 1, the Oakland A's, they're leaving Oakland now. They're going to be gone out. See ya, John Fisher moving the team. It's a sad day for baseball right now. I don't know if you saw, there were fans taking the seats out of the stadium and also getting dirt from some of the workers from the stadium. That's what was happening in Oakland. It's sad what has happened to that franchise. It's a shame MLB's let this and continue to allow this to happen.
So a couple things. One, the morning show with Evan Cohen and Chris Canny and Michelle Smallman were talking about something that you have taken from a stadium before. And I text Evan Cohen in the morning, and he read my answer off and gave me the shout-out this morning on the air from what I understand. So, people around here, you routinely go to people's basements, and they have Veteran Stadium seats in the basement. He couldn't believe that people actually got seats up out of there. But I actually walked through the Spectrum on the last day. The last day of the Spectrum, I walked through there, and people were taking stuff out of there. You could have taken whatever you could have got out of there. So it was like one of these days. Whatever you can get out, you can take. You can have. Whatever was in there. So I saw people carrying all sorts of stuff out that day. A buddy of mine. So I went to his house the other, back this summer. And this is one of the things I texted to Evan Cohen. A buddy of mine, they have it sounds ridiculous, but they have a trash can that they got. And the trash can is so big that he can't find a bag to put in the trash, but it's like a stadium-sized trash can from the stadium up in Philadelphia. I said, well, how the hell did you get it out of the stadium? But different things that people have taken. Now, I told Pete G earlier, a Christmas gift that I got one year. It's a wooden box, and in the box, they're all in a coin-size thing, and it's the dirt from every infield in Major League Baseball. So I said, I actually have dirt from Oakland Alameda Coliseum.
Oh, look at you. You didn't have to go get the water bottle and scoop up the dirt like they were last night, getting dirt to give to the fans as a keepsake. I have dirt from Citizens Bank Park. I also have dirt from Camden Yards. That's where I got dirt from. Now, I'll tell you a story real quick. I was at the Eagles Stadium down at the Lincoln Financial Field as a little kid. I had the being, I don't even know what you would call it, I had the wherewithal to go and pick up grass. I got grass and picked it up. My parents were looking at me like, what are you doing? Everyone's like staring at me. Why are you taking grass from this field? I'm like, we're on Lincoln Financial Field. I put it in my pocket, put it in a baggie. It's somewhere in my office right now. I have to find it. It might have fell behind something. But I have grass from the lake.
You didn't value the grass that much. You put it in a baggie that fell off the back of the...
4 strands of grass.
I might have died. I think it's dead by now.
Yeah.
Wait, so, what is, you pulled the grass right out of the ground at Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
like an 8-year-old.
I got the dirt from all the different infields in Major League Baseball. I'm assuming I definitely have Camden Yards because I got the gift for Christmas probably within the last 10 years, and obviously Camden Yards has been there for about 30. Can you believe Camden Yards has been there for like 30 years?
That's crazy. That's crazy. That was my first time this year. That's where I got the dirt.
Wow. So, I know a lot of people out there that have different memorabilia from different stadiums around. I can't think of something. I mean, I have the dirt. I don't really have anything that I can think of, but I do know a lot of people, a lot of friends I know. I know at least 3 different groups of guys that have seats from Veterans Stadium.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember when they were selling it off when I was younger, and I wish I could have got a couple of seats or something like that. I don't think you have to worry about Citizens Bank Park, the Link, Wells Fargo for a little bit. And 76th Place, that's going to be coming down the pike soon, too, in Center City. So we might not be able to get memorabilia from a stadium for a little while here, Mike. It might be a little while before I'm going to get new grass and keeping that new grass with me.
Yeah, probably not. That's going to be an interesting question. How long are the Phillies going to stay in Citizens Bank Park before, like many of these teams, decide that the stadium, or is this one of those stadiums that stands the test of time and we're still in Citizens Bank Park 50 years from now? Do you think that the Phillies will ever get into a new stadium in our lifetime?
That's a great question. I think they stay here for a long time. I think they stay in CVP for a while. It's been 20 years already. What was the Vet? Vet wasn't too long in stadium years. It was just so run down. It wasn't kept up well.
I think the Vet was about 35 years, but when they ripped it down, I think it lasted about 35 years. I think they opened in 77, somewhere around there, and they tore it down in 04.
See, I think CBP, I think it lasts way longer than the Vet. I think this one's going to last for a long time, maybe even, until the next century. Who knows? This one, I feel like is a stadium that they're going to keep up on and try and renovate over and over again to keep it rolling because it's a beautiful stadium. I mean, Citizens Bank Park is one of the best in the business as well as baseball.
By the way, the Vet opened in 71.
Okay.
So a little bit before I said 77. It opened in 71. It closed in 03. It got demolished in 04. So, it lasted a little bit longer. But I agree. I kept wondering that because, the Atlanta Braves, we've now seen them go through 3 stadiums. All right. They've gone through, in my lifetime, Fulton County, the one that they had in Atlanta, and now the new place that they're at now. The Texas Rangers had Arlington Stadium. They had the other one, and now they're in a third one already. So they're into 3 different stadiums. So I was wondering about that, about the Phillies. with all these stadiums and the teams, and like, are the Phillies at some point going to say, hey, we've kind of outgrown Citizens Bank, it's getting a little dated, or is this one of your forever ballparks? You know, is this the one that's your Fenway Park? This is your Wrigley Field that 100 years from now, you're still playing in the same, you know, that would be really cool. I don't want to see the Phillies get a new stadium anytime.
Yeah, I think this one lasts a while. I think CVP is going to last a minute.
I do think the Eagles might get a new one.
Yeah, the Eagles could get a new one. Do they go dome? They could go dome. And we've seen a lot of these football teams going with the new domes or retractable roofs. That could be a possibility with the Eagles at some point. I could see that happening. But where are you going to put it? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to put it in a different spot than where the lake is now? Like, you have some room down there, but would you want to put it in that spot again? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I look, the Sixers thing, I was looking at this the other day. I actually pulled up a map. There's a spot on 7th and Patterson that would have been perfect for the Sixers arena. Right there on the corner of 7th and Patterson, across the street from, you basically would be 7th and Patterson on the corner. Citizens Bank Park would be across the street from you, like 2 blocks up, and you'd be on the same side of the street as Lincoln Financial Field, but up on the corner of Patterson as opposed to back down Broad Street there. So, or not Broad Street, but whatever street that is where Lincoln Financial Field goes. But there's room. Look, that area has a ton of just empty lots and places that you can find, you know, to build a new stadium. That's why, to me, it's so perplexing that the Sixers felt the need to go and kind of go outside the box with this, where people, it's not like people were like, wow, this is so exciting. The minute people were like, I don't know if I'm all that excited about this, you should have been like, you know what? People aren't all that excited. There's plenty of other places to go do this in Philadelphia. Forget Jersey. You didn't even have to look at Jersey. There's plenty of places people would have been. I don't think anybody's against the Sixers getting their own arena. I think everyone's like, hey, get your own arena. You want to get your own? Fine. But I don't think people were all that excited about where they decided to put it. And that's outside of all the things, just this, that, and the other. It's, people like that area, and there's plenty of room down there to put a stadium.
Yeah, and I think it's just been such a mixed bag with the Sixers moving to Center City. It's looking like it's probably going to happen with the support of the mayor now. It's fascinating with all these stadiums, but Oakland Coliseum, it's done. They're ripping up chairs today. They're taking dirt. Goodbye to the Oakland A's. They're moving again. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Oakland. They can't stay in one spot. It's a franchise that's moved a ton in its history throughout time. All right, moving along, nugget number 2. We got to talk about Citizens Bank Park and the Phillies. They get a first-round bye, Mike. They clinched it last night. We saw it live on the air. They're interviewing Brandon Marsh. The Brewers lose. That was pretty cool during the game yesterday that the Phillies are getting this first-round bye. It's a big, big deal because they're finally not playing in that wild card series. So maybe the bats don't go as cold as early on as it has in recent years, like it did in the NLCS last year. Now, Mike, what team is a team you want to see in that first round? I would love to see the New York Mets. I would absolutely love to see the Mets in the first round, to beat the Mets to go to the NLCS. That's a team I want the Phillies to play. Even though I know they just lost a couple games to them, I would rather see the Mets.
The only reason I would want to see the Mets is just because of the juice behind the rivalry.
Yes.
I don't like the Mets. Listen, here's the one problem with the playoffs this year. There's no Miami Marlins. Okay?
No.
There's no Miami Marlins. All 3 teams that are going to make the National League playoffs this year have the potential to win 90 games. I mean, right now, the Mets have 87. If they win their way out, they'll be over 90. If Arizona, you know, the last couple of years, you've been getting these playoff teams that have been in the 84, 85 win range. These are all really good 90-win-plus teams. So there are no cream puff cupcakes this time around. So to ask which team you'd rather be matched up against, I don't think there is a preference. The Padres, really good. They went out and got Tanner Scott and the left-hander in the back end of their bullpen. Terrible matchup for the Phillies late in games. Arizona, we already know they're not afraid of you playing in Citizens Bank Park. They got a deep lineup. Their pitching really shut you down last year. They went out and got lefty A.J. Puck. It's really helped their bullpen out. And then the Mets, you just saw what they do. They have a deep pitching rotation with a couple of lefties in there. And look, their offense has been outstanding. Their offense has been, look, I've been winning money every single night with the Glazes. He's got hits in 17 straight games. Keep betting him, man, on my Bet365 play of the day. He had another hit last night, or they didn't play last night, but he had a 17-game hitting streak going. So I don't have a team. I think the one team that you would say, hey, I hope I kind of get matched up with is probably the Brewers at this point.
Yeah, another team. Would you want to see the Braves again, too? I mean, the Braves are right there. They're one game back.
Yeah,
they're playing the Mets.
So listen, all right,
there.
I was doing the research on this a little bit. So if the Phillies are the 2 seed, they would be matched up with the Brewers, and whoever's the 3rd wild card team, right?
It could be Atlanta. Yeah, it could be Atlanta.
Right. So right now it's Brewers, Diamondbacks. The winner of the Brewers Diamondbacks would play the Phillies, who are the 2 seed currently. The winner of the Padres Mets would play the 1 seed. So there's a lot of talk about, all right, would you rather be the 2 seed and play either the Brewers or the Diamondbacks, or be the 1 seed and have to play the Padres or the Mets?
Yeah, you think the Padres would probably beat the Mets. That's the problem. And you would probably face the Padres in that first. I'd be nervous about those West Coast teams in the Padres and the Diamondbacks. The Dodgers don't scare me. I know the Dodgers are worried. They're the best team. They're the team who's fighting for the top seed. I think the Dodgers fall apart in the playoffs every year, and I think that'll happen once again. But playing Arizona scares me. Arizona's a team that I'd be nervous again to play because they're sneaky.
I feel like Arizona's the team that you'd be like, oh, man, now we're going to get stuck facing Arizona, and then they lose to the Brewers. But they would beat you. You know what I'm saying? If they beat the Brewers, they would beat you. But they don't beat the Brewers, and they get knocked out. It almost feels like that kind of situation. But if Atlanta creeps into that number 6 spot there, it would be Milwaukee against Atlanta, and the winner would play the Phillies.
Yeah, and I feel like Milwaukee would still win. If you could get Atlanta again, the amount of success you've had against Atlanta in recent years in the postseason, that'd be a nice team to face off.
I know, and that's one of the things that gives me trepidation is you can't just write a passage. You're just going to keep beating this team every single time. Although the Yankees, every time they play the Twins, it feels like they beat them no matter what the situation is. There's so many times where the Twins have been the better team and the Yankees beat them every single time. But, again, Chris Sale, lefty, and keep this in mind. The Braves have said it. They've been vocal about not liking the fact that they had to sit out for the week. Now,
want the wild card.
Wouldn't be the team that has to sit out that week. They would be the team that's playing, and then they get to play you. So keep that in mind. All right, that's Knicks Nuggets today here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. They're brought to you, as always, by the Fanatic Sportsbook at the Gallery Bar, Book and Game at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. We're at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. All right, Nick, we'll catch you tomorrow, man.
Talk to you guys soon.
More Nuggets tomorrow on the show. And, of course, Nick Earnshaw each and every day, 4:30, right here on the Sports Bash. When we come back, Casey Joyner has one thought every game as we get you ready for week number 4 in the NFL. One thought every NFL game. Casey Joyner, plus his thoughts on the matchup between the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Where's the spot on the field that he thinks this Eagles team should exploit? You'll find that out coming up next with Casey Joyner from The Athletic on the Sports Bash.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All right, final hour of the show. We're live at Chickies and Pete's here in Egg Harbor Township. Yeah, we're in the EHT version, and we are out here. Once a month we pop out the EHT. We'll be in Atlantic City next month. But if you're driving around on Chilton Road, EHT, Black Horse Pike, stop out and see us here at Chickies and Pete's. Mike Hill, the Sports Bat, Josh Henning, back in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. My on-site producer is Pete Giordano. And, of course, it is one thought every game. Casey Joyner is back from The Athletic every Tuesday and Thursday. We go one thought every game. It's brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. They're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore at Cooper University Healthcare. Man, it just starts rolling. We just look back at the week that was, and now we're getting ready for Thursday Night Football tonight. We'll get into that one thought every game, but we'll start off with the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Casey, one thought every game on this one. It's tough the Eagles don't have any wide receivers playing. You got any suggestions on receivers they can go find? It looks like Paris Campbell and maybe John Ross possibly getting some snaps today. You look at the pass game in this game. How much trouble is Jalen Hurts in this offense in? We know how much they like to blitz him. We know how much zone they like to play. So do you see yards tough to come by for the Eagles this week? You're muted. No, there he's not muted. Well, we don't hear him. Oh, we got you? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we got you. There you go.
There we go. All right. Good thing is for the Eagles is that they've got, look, what do we see the Packers do when they lose Jordan Love? And, okay, they've got great receivers, but they got Malik Willis. He's been there like a week. What do? We're going to find a way to run the ball 35, 40 times. The beautiful thing is you got Barkley. You've got a fantastic offensive line. You can run everything with Barkley. He knows how to run every type of thing. He's not stuck. He's not like, okay, he can only run outside zone. He can't do other things. You can run all kinds of things with him. I'd love to see the Eagles do a steady diet of what coaches call power read or counter read, which is where the Eagles, where it'll be a read on the backside, on the weak side, and then either Barkley keeps the ball on a play of to go follow the power if the backside backer reads it, backside player reads it, or they can flip that around. It's called bash. You got the quarterback follow the blockers. All kinds of creative things you can do with these guys where you've got the ability to say, we can read, we can go ahead and do standard reads, we could do counter reads, we could do power reads, we can do outside zone, inside zone, we can do all manner of things. This is one of those things where, one of those weeks where, hey, you don't have the passing game, you gotta have to lean on the run, but they've got the team to be able to do it. So I'm hoping that Kellen Moore is working overtime on those running plays because he is a really creative run play caller when he wants to be.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Look, okay, let's say Philadelphia decides, you know what? Let's use this offensive line. Let's run the ball. Do you like that matchup? If they become that team this weekend, run it 25, 30, 35 times and kind of just say, let's get creative. Do you like that matchup for Philly, the run game against the Tampa run defense?
As I'll have to do on the show, I have a measurement for players. It's from a fantasy football perspective, but a lot of times when you're studying fantasy football numbers, it really lends over to standard numbers as well. Weeks 1 through 3, Tampa Bay is 21st in rushing points per game allowed to opposing running backs. They're allowing 4.5 yards a carry. Teams rush 57 times with 258 yards. That's just the backs. I think, can you imagine if you add one of the best running quarterbacks in NFL history, you add that to the mix? I'm like, okay, it's one of those things where Tampa's not been very good at stopping the run. And again, I think that they can use all manner of different types of play calling. Because the thing is, usually if you try and run certain types of plays, the defense will shift over and do things like that. There's just so many counter punches you could do with this team. And the thing is, if they're going to go out and just fully stop the run, it's not like Tampa's got great people in their secondary. They've got, Jamel Dean's had some terrible metrics this year. I mean, they've got some coverage weaknesses to say. I'm not saying I would go that way, but hey, if you guys really want to sell out to stop the run, if you think you got to start getting, your safeties up there, you really start maybe get the cornerback up there, fine, we got a couple guys, we'll just go try to a couple big plays and keep you honest and things. Or you can run bubbles and things, just go after that way. There's all sorts of things that the Philadelphia can do. So, like I said, if Kellen Moore dives deep into the run playbook, I think they've got a chance offensively.
Talking with Casey Joyner, One Thought every game from The Athletic, looking at the Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, by the way, weather could be a possible factor in this game. You take a look at the Eagles offense, the challenges they have, maybe they can run the ball. But on the other side, you got Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. The Eagles don't get a lot of pass rush. Should they be able to get pass rush in this game?
Yeah, we're right down here. Haven't got hit by anything yet, but we're right in Central Florida with that hurricane coming by. So far, knock on wood, so good. But it's probably going to be very rainy. I think that's going to be a wet field, if nothing else, on Sunday. Even if they're getting the back feeds off of that and things, that's another reason you want to be able to run the ball. From pass rushing perspective, it's going to be tough because, again, if you're pass rushing, it's kind of okay. It's a wet turf. Is it good for the offense, good for the defense? Here's the thing, though. The Eagles, weeks 1 through 3, 4.3% sack rate, one of the worst in the league, but a 41.1% pressure rate, a top 12 number, I believe it is, top 12 number. They're very good there. The Bucks, 13.7% sack rate allowed, one of the worst totals in the league, and 35.6% pass pressure. I think the Eagles can get a pass rush. If they've got a good enough field, they can get a pass rush because maybe they've got better pass rush numbers than shows up in their sacks, and the Bucs have terrible pass blocking. So I like that matchup.
Yeah, let's see if, last week Jalen Carter was the game wrecker. Eric McCoy went out of the game there. You see if he can continue that this week, if he can make some noise in the center of that line. Grant Barton questionable this week, so we'll see what kind of matchup he gets this week, because as we saw last week, Casey, he can be the game wrecker.
Yeah, he can, and you're looking at. I'm just looking. I'll tell you another thing I'm looking at there for this game is one thing that's really concerning for the Eagles, and one of the reasons you want to slow the game down. I'm looking at that chart for weeks 1 through 3 of points per game on vertical passes. That's the passes traveling 11 more yards downfield. The Eagles are 28. They've allowed 15 completions, 30 attempts, 381 yards, 12.7 yards per attempt. It's not very good. The Bucs 1.61. They're only allowing 10 out of 28 completions for 7.9 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, the Bucs are a lot better on vertical passes. So it's one of those things where, hey, we don't want to get into that kind of shootout game. We don't want them testing our secondary because, right now, Mike Evans has done nothing this year. Imagine if they get him and Godwin going after secondary like that. You definitely want to make that not the case. So another reason the Eagles really want to keep this. They want to be the 1990 Giants in this game.
Yes, the Eagles secondary, some young players, Quinyon Mitchell, obviously. You got Darius Slay, the veteran, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, their secondary. Last week they got that interception to seal the deal. You take a look at what was their problem last week, and is that something that would concern you? They only scored 7 points in the game against Denver.
First off, I think their week 1 thing was against Washington. Washington, I think that gave everybody an idea of, hey, Baker Mayfield, this offense is really good. Mike Evans, has he hit the wall yet? He's done nothing this year. I wrote about it in an article for The Athletic on Monday, and I don't think he has. Is it possible? Yeah, he's taken a lot of wear and tear, and they don't have a lot more outside of it. I think that's part of it. And again, they can't pass block. They're a terrible pass blocking team. Problem for one of the things about the Eagles when we talk about the secondary, though, interesting thing that comes up when you look at their yards per target. It's one of the metrics they use to measure coverage, and based on numbers of Pro Football Reference. Avonte Maddox this year, 3.3 yards per target. It's a really good number. But even Quinyon Mitchell, Slay, Blankenship, between 6.7 and 7.4 yards per target. They're both doing well. The weakness, Gardner-Johnson, 21.6 yards per target, 5 out of 7, and he's just getting destroyed. He's the weakness. If they can keep him from getting in those situations, everybody else has been to hold up pretty well.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about him in the last hour about he's been getting beat over the top. He had a couple plays. We'll see if Baker Mayfield can get shots down the field. That could be the big matchup in the game. We'll get Casey Joyner's thoughts on that matchup a little bit later. But let's go one thought every game as the Eagles and the Bucs will get us our final thought. But right now, let's look at the Thursday night thought. The Cowboys at the Giants. Dak Prescott looking for his 13th straight win against the Giants. The Cowboys have outscored the Giants by 72 points last season, but they are seeking to avoid their second 1-3 start if they lose tonight in the last 10 seasons. So, can the Giants drop the Cowboys to 1-3?
I think they got a possibility. I mean, the point spread last check was about 6 points and things. Malik Neighbors might be going up against a third-string cornerback. In fact, he will be going up against a good third-string cornerback. Unless they move Diggs around, which they might, but Diggs gives up some big plays too. So I think they'll keep it closer. I think that the Giants, because they have Neighbors, it opens up a lot of avenues in their offense, and the Cowboys have some weaknesses on their team, as we've been seeing of late. But the Giants have a terrible run defense, so I expect a lot of Dowdle, a lot of Elliott, and also, by the way, CeeDee Lamb is a very fair matchup against the backup cornerback too, so I'll take Dallas.
All right, he likes Dallas there. Let's go to the Sunday slate. This is the 110th all-time meeting between the Saints and the Falcons. They currently are 55 and 54 in those games. The Saints are 5-1 in their last 6 games, though, against the Falcons. They had their 5-game win streak snapped last season. So the Saints are looking for their 5th straight win in the division. Can they go to Atlanta to get it?
Atlanta, they ought to be 2-1. That was just a brutal no call on that play in the end zone there. But I'll tell you one thing Atlanta has that's really good. They've got tremendous safeties. They play very good safeties. It's one of the things that's kept them in this game. And the thing is, in New Orleans, though, I'll put it this way. If Kamara plays and he's at full strength, he's got a hip corner. If he's not there, what happened to him last week, it happened to him again. But if Kamara's at full strength, I'll take the Saints in that one because he was playing at a fantastic level, as we've been talking about earlier in the week. He's been playing at a fantastic level, a CMC caliber level, just like a step below that. But if he's hurt, or he's at less than 100%, I would like to see what happened in the Friday injury report. If he's hurt, I would change that and say Atlanta will win, because Atlanta's got the type of running defense that can stop somebody, especially Kamara. If Kamara's there, he can do it. If he's not there, he definitely can.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, the injuries have been all over the NFL. Let's go to Rams and Bears. Talk about injuries. The Rams littered with them. The Bears, unfortunately, the injuries aren't so bad. It's their line play that's that bad. They're seeking to avoid, the Rams are, their first 1-3 start in 10 years. Meanwhile, the Bears average a paltry 3.7 yards per play. It's the worst in the NFL. So can the beat-up Rams go to Chicago and steal a win?
Rams have, I missed that secondary, actually red, yellow, green. I would give those ratings for all the secondary players. The Rams have 3 players. They're secondary. They're green rated, and their run defense is green. They're just atrocious right now. And plus, Chicago got some things going last week. I think they need to rotate. It's the offensive line is a big part of the problem, but it looks like they're going to start giving Johnson some more carries and maybe say, hey, we don't trust Swift at all. If they've got that bad offensive line, this game turns into a shootout. I mean, the Rams went toe-to-toe with 49ers last week. No, the 49ers weren't at full strike, but they still have a lot of better players than that. So I think this could go the shootout route. And I'll just take the Rams because I trust them a little bit more. But, man, this is one of the closest games of the week.
Okay, Vikings and Packers, Minnesota. It's the first team since the 2023 Dolphins to be 3-0 and an underdog in their 4th game of the year. So they are an underdog even though they're undefeated. They're looking to be 4-0 for the first time since 2016. It would be their 3rd 4-0 start in the last 20 years for the Vikings. So could they surprise everybody and start 4-0 again?
Brian Flores, I know his Miami tenure wasn't exactly, a thing of beauty and all that, and all the stuff that happened. But defensive coordinator-wise, he's the best defensive coordinator in the league. You saw Purdy coming off the field saying, boy, that was fantastic. He did it last week as well. I think he could do it again this week. He can't run the ball against his defense. He's got ways of shutting the run down. Aaron Jones, by the way, turns out that they're saying, hey, Jones is, but if you look at the numbers, I looked like it was going to be a platoon with him and Chandler. Chandler's the alternate. Jones is the lead. Jones will play extremely well right now. So I'm going to take Minnesota this one.
He likes Minnesota on the road at Green Bay. Looks like Love could be back in that one. At least that's what the line is saying. All right, Steelers and Colts. Steelers are looking to go 4-0 for the first time since starting 12-0 back in 2020. Mike Tomlin is 8-2 in his career against the Colts. They got to go on the road, but I would imagine this defense is going to give Anthony Richardson all sorts of problems.
Defense travels well, and the Colts, by the way, they have a terrible run defense. They're not the worst. The Cowboys have been bad, but I mean the Colts have just been awful for a variety of reasons. And also, I mentioned those red, yellow, green rankings. Right now, you've got the Colts are sitting with both their starting cornerbacks are green rated, and their starting strong safety is green rated. So the Steelers could also get some aerial attack going. I don't think the Colts will get any kind of aerial attack going, or frankly, very much rushing attack too. So Richardson's playing not quite so well. So I think the Steelers win this one.
I figure bet the under would be the play on that one. Broncos and the Jets. The Broncos went to Tampa last week and won. Can the Broncos go on the road 2 weeks in a row? The Jets will have 9 days off for this game, and Aaron Rodgers is 13-0 at home in his career when he's had at least 9 days off. So you put that all together, don't feel good about the Broncos here.
I'll bet they make it closer than people think because the Jets' run defense has been subpar this year. It's not very good. And Sauce Gardner has terrible coverage numbers. I know he's really good. I'm saying he's not one of the top cornerbacks in the league, but his coverage numbers this year have been terrible. Thing is, who's he going to cover? Josh Reynolds, Cortland Sutton? I'll take Gardner in that matchup, even with those guys playing the way they are. And the Jets also have a number of other issues. And again, Rodgers is getting more comfortable in this offense and playing better by the week. So I'll take Jets.
One thought every game. Casey Joyner from The Athletic. Let's go to Carolina, where Andy Dalton is slated to make his 2nd start with the Panthers and his 4th start against the team that drafted him, the Bengals, and he is 2-1 against the Bengals in his career. Can he really make it 3-1 and the Panthers win 2 in a row?
Obviously, Bryce Young was something that was affecting the entire organization because the organization doesn't think that there's an old adage that the organization, if the players don't think the coaches know what they're doing, you can't get anything out. The first thing you got to do is convince you know what you're doing. When you've got Bryce Young out there, I think the players are like, hey, we don't know if this organization knows what it's doing. So that was a big change for them. Carolina's still got some problems on their team, personnel problems. They still have a terrible run defense. They still have some really bad cornerbacks. Mike Jackson, if he's cue the Michael Jackson jokes, but he's just atrocious in coverage, and he might end up covering Jamar Chase. So I think this game probably goes into shootout mode. I still like Burrow, Higgins, and Chase in that group in the shootout over Carolina that just doesn't have quite as much firepower.
All right, one thought every game, Jacksonville and the Texans. Jacksonville has beaten the Texans in 2 of the last 3, both times on the road, and they had 2 wins versus Houston in the previous 17 meetings. So can they get back to what they've been doing? Jacksonville hasn't been doing anything well, and Houston with a very disappointing loss last week.
I wonder if that we're going to find out something about Jacksonville this week, because that kind of a loss that can carry over. That's something that it looked like they threw in the towel at the end of the game, and that's maybe it's just a one-time thing. A good coach can nip that in the bud, but it's something you get concerned about. Not nearly as concerned about Houston. Again, hey, they had a tough matchup, and I can do that to you. They're that good. So I think that the Houston's got a huge talent edge to them. Plus, they're probably getting their running back core a little healthier. They were starting Akers last week. Looks like Pierce is going to be back this week. Probably won't get Mixon back till next week. But now they're going to have a 1-2 punch, and they've still got fantastic receivers. I'll take Houston.
All right, he likes Houston there. Let's go to the Commanders, who was the talk of the town on Monday night. They're going to the Cardinals. Commanders with a win. Will be their first time winning 3 of their first 4 games to begin the year since 2011. They finished 5-11 that year, by the way. So can the Commanders get off to another good start? Again, this is a fun quarterback matchup. You got obviously Kingsbury against his former team.
Yeah, it is a fun matchup. And Jaden Daniels, 70% completion rate or higher in each of his 3 games, set the rookie completion record. The Bengals defense was terrible. That's part of it. But the problem is they've got a really bad defense too. Washington really still has, that's why the game went into shootout mode. And Arizona's got a much better defense, but I'm troubled by Arizona because last week was a game. I know Detroit's a really good team, but Arizona, that's the kind of contest I think they could have went toe-to-toe with somebody. So I think this is going to be a toss-up game. I'll probably take Washington just because of the way they've been playing of late, and I think they've got a little more firepower because of their quarterback. This is going to be a toss-up game.
All right, one thought every game, Patriots, Niners. The Niners are banged up. They lost back-to-back road games after winning the home opener. They're looking to avoid their first losing record through 4 games to begin a season since way back in 2018. So the Niners banged up. Do they drop to 1-3 against this Patriots outfit?
The Patriots and they could stop Jordan Jennings. I mean, nobody could last week, and you may have Kittle back this week. You've got a good rushing attack. I keep looking and say they've got a lot of firepower there. And New England, they had that game against the Bengals, but now we kind of understand Bengals probably aren't as good as people thought. So, I mean, it's still an upset win, but, it's not nearly anywhere as good. But, I mean, you've got Stevenson. He's just a plotter. He's totally a volume play. You've got KJ Osborne, you've got Polk, you've got DeMario Douglas, you've got Hunter Henry. I just don't see the firepower here. I mean, it's one of those things where I think they could maybe keep the game closer than expected, but I still think I'll take San Francisco 8 out of 10 in this one.
Yeah, I think Debo was back at practice today as well, so keep an eye on that. Let's go Browns and Raiders. Browns are looking to win consecutive road games in the season for the first time since a 4-game win streak back in 2020. Both these teams have problems all over. They're talking about possibly benching Gardner Minshew. Watson's been a total issue here, so who's the lesser of 2 evils?
Remember last year when the Raiders were doing well, and everybody's like, why aren't they saying they're going to make Antonio Pierce their coach? And they didn't do it, and they finally did. But it was like, they did it, but it's still like, you would have thought they would have done that earlier. Maybe they knew something we all didn't know, because the Raiders really looked bad in week 1. They played like, okay, we're not into this. And it's week 3, and their coach is already saying, yeah, we got players making business decisions. Like, ooh, that's a really bad sign. Cleveland's got some issues too. I trust Stefanski's coaching. He's already shown he can keep his team on an even keel. And the Raiders have a lot of weaknesses on defense. I mean, their run defense is terrible. Jack Jones has awful metrics. They've got a couple other players who are on the border of being green rated. So I'll take Cleveland.
All right, Chiefs and Chargers. You can listen to this game on 97.3 ESPN. And the Chiefs are looking to start 4-0 for the first time since 2020 and the 6th time under Andy Reid. They got a 10-game road win streak against the Chargers. That goes all the way back to 2014 in San Diego. So do the Chiefs continue that dominance on the road in L.A. against the Chargers?
The Chiefs, they know, you remember the Eagles over the past few years, they would have a couple times where they'd have really good record. You go, they're not as good as the record. They have some problems. That's where the Chiefs are right now. They've got a good record. I know they got the injury. They got Carson Steele, looked solid last week, and they'll put P. Ryan in more often. But Patrick Mahomes is on an 8-game streak of fewer than 20 fantasy points for the first time in his career. Their offense doesn't look anywhere near as good. Their defense, if you start looking at their metrics, like, okay, it's solid, but it's not what it was last year. Problem is, Chargers, I mean, Herbert's banged up, and he just doesn't look the same. And they'll go 4-0. I think the Chiefs will, but they still need to be looking at the team going, we got a lot of places to improve, because if they try and say we're going to go to Super Bowl playing at the level they're playing right now, it won't happen.
One thought every game. Let's go to the Sunday night game. You can listen to it on 97.3 ESPN. The Bills and the Ravens. How about this? Lamar Jackson, 16-5 record in primetime games as a starting quarterback. That's the best since the merger. Josh Allen is third in that number. He has the third winning percentage. So who is the primetime guy in this Sunday nighter?
Thing is, Buffalo's going to have to do something. You've got Josh Allen playing fantastic right now, and I think they still want to be a run-first team. They're going to have to be a pass-first team, because Baltimore's run defense has been really good this year. Their pass defense has been, Nate Wiggins is terrible. Brandon Stevens is terrible. Talking coverage metric-wise, both their safeties are terrible coverage metric-wise. And so they're going to have to go into that sort of mode, and Baltimore's going to have to be like Philadelphia. It's going to slow the game down, and Buffalo's got they don't have a shutdown run defense, but they have a good run defense, and they have also better players in their secondary. So I think even though Baltimore in some ways is playing better than their record would indicate, I think Buffalo's got more paths to victory, so I'll take this.
All right, Monday night doubleheader yet again. Titans-Dolphins Monday night. Titans are 26-19 all-time on Monday Night Football. That's the sixth best record by any team in the NFL. They got to go down to Miami. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback down there, but the Titans on the road in this spot.
How many college quarterbacks are better than the guys we got in this game? They've got, I'm serious. How many college quarterbacks are there right now who you'd rather have than the guys you have in the center? Right? That's tough. I mean, there isn't a starting caliber quarterback in this matchup. It's an ugly Monday night game. Having said that, I mean, as much as you respect Mike McDaniel, if you've got Tyler Huntley, is that who you're going to go with the quarterback? I mean, that's just too big of an impediment. In fact, Miami, I can't believe their backup quarterback situation wasn't better. You've got Tua. He's got injury issues. We've got concussion issues. This is a guy who you better have a really good backup for. It's not like Peyton Manning back in the day or Tom Brady where you can say, we know we're going to play a whole season. They should have done it. They didn't. And it's going to cost them, because I think their run defense is terrible, and I think Tennessee's got a better offense, which is saying something.
All right, Seahawks and Lions. That's your Monday night game number 2. It's the Seahawks 3-0 this season. They're looking to be 4-0 to start a season for the first time since 2020, and that's the last time they won 10 games. So are they on their way to 4-0, or is this the Lions at home too much?
Well, first off, right now the best team in Detroit is, the Tigers are the best team in Detroit right now. So I would say that as a longtime Tigers fan. I like the Lions. I mean, kudos for them for coming back and playing hard last week and getting the win. I mean, that's a tough environment. You got to go down to Arizona, well-coached team and all that. But Carlton Davis has terrible metrics. Terrion Arnold has terrible metrics. I mean, they're good at covering tight ends, but doesn't do any good against Noah Fant. And Seattle showed. I give McDonald credit. Seattle showed when they went in that New England game. Okay, we can't run the ball against New England. Fine, we'll let Geno throw. We've got Tyler Lockett, we've got DK Metcalf, we've got Smith and Jigba. We've got these really good receivers. I think they've got that path to victory. And Detroit just has. I like Detroit, and I think they'll do well. But I think Seattle's going to keep this game really, really close. I'm probably, in fact, I am going to take Seattle in an upset, because I just think that the Lions they've got a few too many issues that they've got to work out, and Seattle knows who they are.
All right, there you go. He likes Seattle on the road against the Lions. And by the way, yes, the Tigers right now are an American League wildcard team. They're 2.5 games up with the weekend left to go. It looks like they are going to the playoffs as well. All right,
they got
final
3 against the White Sox.
Ooh, 3 against the White Sox. Throw that into the mix.
Real
120 losses right now. All right, final thought on every game. Philly and the Buccaneers. What's the biggest difference in this one? Who wins and why?
The biggest difference in this one is, again, Philadelphia's got the ability to be able to do whatever they want to do on the ground. They've got the ability to say, Barkley and Hurts, you guys can get 30-plus carries, and I still think they can manufacture through play calling and through a couple favorable matchups. I think they can manufacture some games, some things in the passing game. And I think Tampa Bay, we all think they're better than they are because of what happened, and I think the Eagles secondary is probably better than what it seems. So I think the game will be close and such, but I really do think that the Eagles can do. I think they're going to be able to manufacture enough plays. If they don't go with that run-heavy play calling, and we're talking on Tuesday about it, then they're probably a loss. But as long as the Eagles are smart and say, hey, look, this is a game we need to run the ball 40 times, if they do that, they win. I think they're smart enough to do that.
All right, that would be 2 straight on the road against NFC South opponents. You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Casey Joyner, everybody's back for One Thought every game on Tuesday's show. All right, buddy, we'll talk to you then.
Appreciate it.
All right, Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show, on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Casey Joyner is brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. They're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore at Cooper University Healthcare. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Coming up, we've got Jeff Nadeau's favorite plays of the week. He's got a 3-pack of college games and an NFL favorite play for you as well. That's coming up next here on the Sports Bash. Don't forget, if you're listening on the free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City, you can message us through the app on your phone, or you can get your text messages in at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. My Bet365 play of the day is coming up, and we hit another one last night, so I think that makes us 19-10 on the Bet365 play of the day. Season, Caitlin Clark, 3 or more threes. She hit 3 last night. They lost. Her season's over. Do we see Caitlin Clark in the Phillies broadcast booth this weekend?
There's probably a chance.
Possibility. The invite's out there.
The invite is out there.
That's right. All right, Nadeau next here, Sports Bash.
You're listening to with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Chickies and Pete's, Egg Harbor Township. Don't forget, Chickies is the spot to watch the Eagles this Sunday and all your NFL games, college football, and tonight's Thursday night football. It is Dallas and the Giants, and of course you can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the Sports Bash, it's brought to you by Key Acura of Atlantic City. For a great car buying experience, go see Rocco and my friends over at Key Acura of Atlantic City, Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township, your small but friendly dealer. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash, and of course we've got the man, the myth, the legendary handicapper Jeff Nadeau. We're going to talk a little bit about his favorite plays. He's got 3 college games and an NFL play for you, and that's coming up in just a moment here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, live from Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget, tomorrow, Friday edition of the show, we'll get you ready for the Eagles and Buccaneers, and, of course, you can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. So we'll get into a bunch of matchups with Jeff today and take a look at everything that he's got on his play sheet. 1 NFL game, 3 college games. We'll see what his favorite plays are for this weekend. Make you a couple bucks. By the way, our Bet365 play of the day, Caitlin Clark, 3 threes in the game last night. She hit 3. That's another winner. I have another winner for you coming up in just about 15 minutes from now here on the Sports Bash. We're going to bring Jeff into the conversation and get his thoughts. You know, last week, you take a look at the college games. Now we're into week 5 of the college football season, right? Now we're starting to hit the conference schedule. We're starting to get a lot better feel on everything. You got Army and Temple tonight, by the way. Tomorrow, a couple games, Virginia Tech, Miami. Rutgers fans, you got Rutgers against Washington, a big old Big Ten matchup between someone in the Pacific Northwest and North Jersey. That's the matchup there. But we got all the betting thoughts for you from Jeff Nadeau. Get his favorite plays of the week. We got 3 college, we got 1 NFL, and of course you can hear it right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. At Jeff Nadeau on this Thursday night. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Always good. Thursday night football's back. The football's flowing. Got a couple college games tonight as well. Temple is playing Army, but we're going to look at the Saturday slate, some of your favorite plays this week. The people want to know. Let's get into them. Start off with one little Big Ten matchup. Maryland, Indiana, not 2 football schools by any stretch of the imagination. Indiana, -7. 52.5. Interesting game here when you take a look at the Terrapins and the Hoosiers, 2 basketball schools. You like the football game, though.
Yeah, I mean, very few teams have been playing better than Indiana. Team that you really don't think of, as you alluded to, as a football school, but they have been absolutely pulverizing teams, Mike. They've won every game by 24 or more points. Now, obviously, you're going to step it up a little bit here and play a little bit better competition. That said, I mean, look, I know UCLA is not good, but they went out on the road and absolutely beat that group up 42-13. Is Maryland better? Yeah. I don't know how much better, though. This is an Indiana team that's ran the ball really well. This is an Indiana team that's played pretty good defense. This is an Indiana team that, one thing I love, Mike, they score touchdowns when they get into the red zone. They have one of the better touchdown rates in the country so far. They are scoring a touchdown, I believe, in their 24 attempts. They have, I think, 20 touchdowns, 83%. Very good. This is not your prototypical Maryland team. They're a group that have had a good season so far, but I think anything under 10, I'm going to continue to ride Indiana. This is a good football team. They're well coached. They're very good on defense. I like Indiana here.
All right. What I like about him, too, quarterback Curtis Rourke, 8 touchdowns, no picks, hasn't turned the ball over. That's a big number there to watch. I kind of like that play as well. Not a big Maryland guy. Billy Edwards Jr., the quarterback at Maryland, we'll see there. He's got 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So 2 quarterbacks who generally take care of the ball. Should be interesting. Indiana -7 is the play from Jeff. Let's go to Colorado. Is the rub on Colorado starting to fall a little bit? They're a 14-point dog against UCF. And, of course, Deion Sanders' crew, they won last week. Little come from behind, little epic fashion, little Hail Mary there. But this is a tough matchup for them. People might not look at UCF as a big-time program, but Colorado's got a tough one here.
Yeah, I don't know, though. This number's a little crazy to me. I'm not going that way with the pick, but I don't know. Anything over 2 touchdowns I thought was a little crazy. Look, this number, I bet, Mike, it's 62. It's up towards 65 now. I'm on the over here. I mean, this is everything you want when you play an over. UCF, Mike, you would think it's Army or Navy. It's not. UCF is the best rushing attack in the country. One of the big knocks on Colorado, they can't stop the run. I think UCF just runs it down their throat. Both these teams play very fast, top 15 in plays per game. Pace will be good there. They're good in the red zone. You also look at Colorado. I mean, they want to throw. UCF's pass defense has been bad. Throw in the fact these are 2 quarterbacks dueling on a fast track in Orlando. Look, if this is 28-27, so be it. I think it's more towards like 45-35, 49-37, something like that. I think these 2 quarterbacks do whatever they want. I think this is one of those back and forth games. Colorado had a couple of them last year where it was like first to 45 wins. Both offenses should do whatever they want in this game.
Yep, a lot of points in this one. Kind of agree with you there. 64.5. Some of the numbers, if you can find it in that range, go ahead and play that. Colorado, Central Florida, the Knights. It's a Big 12 and Conference USA matchup there for UCF. All right, let's go to 2 teams you played last week, Minnesota and Michigan. Michigan with a little surprise game there. Now they're back. They're favored by 9.5 after last week's win over USC. Minnesota, usually a team that they play Iowa last week, right? That was the play there, Iowa versus Minnesota. Now it's Minnesota-Michigan. So back-to-back weeks with these 2 programs.
Yeah, I don't know how these teams move the ball. I mean, I'm trying to kind of understand it. I'm not seeing it.
By the way, the over-under is 35.5, so they're with you on that. How are they going to move the ball?
Yeah. That said, I'm gonna again go away from the total here. I'm gonna back Minnesota. I think this is an all right spot for them. I know they didn't look good last week against Iowa. I think we're kind of forgetting, though. Iowa has one of the best running backs in the country. I mean, outside of the kid at Boise, Caleb Johnson's the best running back in the country. He had 21 for 206 last week, 10 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns, which was weird because Minnesota is generally a very good run defense. Both these defenses are good. But I look at both these teams. I don't know how they move the ball. I mean, neither quarterback's particularly good. I think Max Brosmer, the quarterback at Minnesota, struggles. But I think he's a better quarterback than whoever Michigan has. I think if he could just not turn the ball over, which, again, easier said than done, I'm going to lean on Minnesota. I just don't think Michigan's very good. I don't really see any game breaker there on offense. Colston Loveland, their tight end's been out from Michigan. I wanted 10 here, but road underdogs are pretty good in these types of games, especially when you see a total of 35. It's going to be first to 17. I could see a situation where Minnesota, kind of a maligned program, maybe they pull out an outright win here. I think this game's a lot similar to the Minnesota-UNC game we saw in week 1. We saw Michigan last week, won the game, but now you got to come back, play right away, and you got a subpar program here. I don't think they play real well here.
All right, Jeff Nadeau at Jeff Nadeau. Let's get your favorite NFL play of the week. If there's one NFL game for the listeners out there that you like, give that to the listeners today.
I like Green Bay minus 2.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings are kind of one of the big stories in the NFL. They're 3-0, but everything kind of gets thrown out of the window, Mike, now. I mean, this is a Green Bay team that's stabilized, man. They won a couple of games without Jordan Love. If you'd have told me they'd be 2-1 after that Eagles game with the thought that Jordan Love would be out a couple of weeks, I'd have told you you're probably crazy. Malik Willis filled in very admirably for Jordan Love. All things seem to be that he's going to come back this week. You're already seeing some threes pop up in this matchup. Again, Mike, look, I give the Vikings all the credit in the world. The defense has been good. I mean, you look at, they've beaten the Niners and the Texans in their 2 out of 3 wins. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Yet they're an underdog here. I think at the end of the day, when everything settles and the dust is settled, I think the Packers are a better team. Justin Jefferson could have a big game here, but I'll ultimately take Jordan Love, hopefully. And this is indicating that he will play. I don't think they're a favorite if he's not in there. Something tells me that the Vikings defense comes a little bit back to earth. I want to fade what the public wants to do. The public wants to back the Vikings. They love Sam Darnold. You look at the fact that 90% of the bets are on Minnesota, yet almost 40% of the actual money is on the Green Bay Packers. So sharp money on the Packers. I'll lay the 2.5 with the Go Pack Go here.
All right, he likes Green Bay. That's his favorite NFL play of the week. Jeff Nadeau, there we go. Week 4 in the NFL.
How about the Eagles last week, Mike? I called that one, didn't I?
Yes, sir. And by the way, it was this week, interesting spot for the Eagles down in Tampa with all the injuries. I guess it's a kind of a fade play. No touch here because the Eagles, they got some interesting numbers. Sirianni, 18-9 off revenge games. Last time he played Tampa, they lost. So this is a good spot for Sirianni. We'll see. I know them going down there. Not a great spot for Jalen Hurts. Has not been great against Tampa. So it feels like the kind of game you're just kind of, with all the injuries, you're probably not playing this game at all.
Yeah, actually, if I had to play it, I'm going to maybe see if a 3 pops up here. There's some 2.5s out there. If this gets to 3 with the Bucs, I'll come in on Tampa. I mean, look, Tampa was embarrassed last week. That's just how the NFL works. But I agree, Mike. This is a concerning spot for the Eagles. I don't know who you throw to. Dallas Goedert will be doubled, I'd have to imagine. They have a good secondary for the most part there. Jahan Dotson, Mike, hasn't been even thrown to.
No.
And no one's been in there. They don't have even Covey. Something tells me Cooper DeJean's going to fumble a punt return here soon. I don't think you get near as much pressure. Bryce Huff is still invisible. Josh Sweat has been invisible. And again, Mike, you cannot keep passing up opportunities to score the football. Nick Sirianni continues to make boneheaded decisions. They bailed him out last week. I don't know that they're going to bail him out this week.
All right, there you go. Thoughts on that. By the way, the Thursday night game tonight, you can listen to it on 97.3 ESPN. If you want a little number here, Dak Prescott, 32-14-2 against the spread against teams that are under 500. So Dak,
I'll throw this out, Mike, though. These underdogs have been elite this year. I mean, and remember, again, divisional game here, but it's hard to back the Giants, especially the Giants are off of a good performance, aren't they? Didn't they?
They beat the Browns,
Cleveland Browns, and the Cowboys got blown out. So
Dak's 29-11 against the spread in the division. He likes these bad division teams. This is where the Cowboys generally shine. We'll see. Daniel Jones is 5-9 against the spread at night in prime time, 0-6 straight up. So it's a bad spot for the Giants.
Also throw in last 2 games against the Giants, Cowboys have won 89-17. So not great for the G-men here.
All right, that's tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff Nadeau with his plays of the week here on the Sports Bash. All right, Jeff, thanks a bunch, man.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Jeff, of course, every Thursday, everybody make a couple bucks on the plays there. I'll give them to you one more time. Indiana -7, over 64.5, Colorado, UCF. Minnesota plus 9.5 against Michigan. NFL, it's Green Bay. We're live at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor Township. I'll give you my Bet365 play of the day. Man, I've been hot on these, man. I have been on fire. What are we, 19-10? All of a sudden, rolling. More bucks your way coming up next on the.
Okay, how weird does it feel to be called someone's fiance? The first time you hear it, you do a double take. Your heart kind of flutters. And before you know it, you go from let's just enjoy the moment to we're planning a fall wedding. That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place and have fun along the way. From free planning tools like a budget tracker and website to a venue and vendor discovery tool that matches you with your dream team. Everything on Zola is designed to make your wedding journey as easy as possible. And with invites that can be completely customized and a wedding registry packed with gifts you actually want. Zola takes you from save our date to thanks so much without breaking a sweat. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, time now for the Bet365 play of the day. Josh, what's the record?
You are officially 20-10 because you got both Caitlin Clark 3 or more threes last night and Carrington 4 or more rebounds last night. You hit on both of them.
Right, I threw the Carrington rebounds in there
That's
last.
pretty good. Some WNBA plays.
Well, come on, Caitlin Clark hitting the 3.
She could break that every game.
It's just like taking money off the counter, right? It's like taking money right off the top of the dresser. Bet365 play of the day. It's brought to you by Bet365, whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Here we go. Dak Prescott.
Oh, that's tonight.
225 yards passing. He goes over the number. He's done it 6 out of his last 7 games. Giants are a mess in the secondary. I think the run game for Dallas stinks, so they're going to move the ball. It's going to be through the air. I like that number. So that'll be my Bet365 play of the day. The other plays I like in the game, that's my official play, Josh. That's
what was the over on the number again?
225.
225.
Prescott. Yes. The other plays that I like in this one, I like CeeDee Lamb over 60 yards. I like Ferguson with 4 or more receptions. I like the Dallas pass game tonight, if you can't tell. But I do think the game's kind of close and kind of interesting. But Prescott over 225. That's my Bet365 play of the day. I'm back tomorrow.
These Oakland A's got to hold on.
3-2 A's. By the way, you can watch Dallas and the Cowboys, Dallas and the Giants right here at Chickies and Pete's. You going to get that beer? Cane head high?
I see a seat right there. About 10 feet.
All right, thanks to Chickies and Pete's, of course, always a great host over here. They got the game on tonight. Flyers hockey tonight, by the way. For all the Flyers coverage, follow Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider for 97.3ESPN.com. I'm back tomorrow. Phillies have the night off. We'll get you Eagles and Bucks. It's a Sal Pal Friday tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you then.